Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
All right. Shall I pick you up at the airport? Sikong Ju asked point two. No need. Just help me keep an eye on Liang. I'll hang up now and go prepare my luggage. 2. Sikong Ju put away his phone. He had finally completed the old madam's task. Found Liang a match. However, the old madam sounded a little too anxious. She was going to propose marriage straight out of the blue. The question was, did Liang want to get married? 2. At that thought, he grew cold. Liang didn't seem to be in a hurry to get married, but the old madam was in a hurry. She wanted it to happen quickly, too. The thought of the reward made him tremble slightly. Point 2. Qin Sheng and Chu Xia returned to their classroom to get their school bags. It was already past the end of school. Time to go home. Point 2. Chu Xia realized that she wasn't the only one feeling depressed. Qin Sheng also looked depressed. Point 2. I'm fine. There's no need to keep my virginity for life. I can treat him as a gigolo, but without paying for the sex, too. When she thought about it like that, it was more like she was taking advantage of him. Moreover, Sikong Ju was much more handsome than many gigolos. Point 2. Qin Sheng was stunned when she heard that. All right, the Duke is Sikong Ju's financier, and they're a couple. Why is he so perverted? When he worked as a gigolo, he found himself a man. When he wasn't a gigolo, he found himself a woman. Does he swing both ways, too? I think you're right about that. He must be a prostitute. No wonder he insisted that I force myself on him. Does he want money? F***CK. I can't deal with that. I can't lose money again. Let's go quickly. Chu Xiao picked up her backpack and dragged Qin Sheng away. Point 2. Qin Sheng's expression was solemn. She still felt depressed. Point 2. Chu Xia, does it hurt everywhere when you know? Is there anything that doesn't hurt? 2. I heard that it eventually doesn't hurt anymore because something inside breaks and doesn't grow back. After that, it doesn't hurt. By the way, the Duke carried you away. You weren't hurt by him, were you? Chu Xia suddenly thought of this. Point 2. He said that we did it, but I didn't hurt at all. However, when my uncle's finger touched me, I would feel pain. Do you think that I'm broken? Qin Sheng thought of this question, frustrated at herself. Point 2. No way, you're not broken. Could it be that the Duke's, is even smaller than your uncle's finger? Does he have a small appendage? Chu Xia looked at Qin Sheng in surprise. Point 2. Then am I being disrespectful? I'm giving it to my uncle, Qin Sheng said. Point 2. Chu Xia rolled her eyes. How is this disrespectful? At worst, I'll just let a man touch me and take advantage of me. Wait a minute, F***CK. I've figured it out, too. Figure what out? Qin Sheng looked at Chu Xia curiously. Point 2. No wonder the Duke wanted Sikong Ju to be his partner. It's because his thing is too small to be used. That's why he wanted Sikong Ju to be his partner. Chu Xia accurately connected everything together. Point 2. Qin Sheng could not help but nod. That makes sense. Sikong Ju is straight. He was forced by life to be the Duke's partner. 2. TSK. Poor Sikong Ju. He was forced to be his partner for money. He slept with another man. Chu Xia started to sympathize with Sikong Ju and Mao Ran. Point 2. Hence, Duke Liang was the one lacking in that department and the one who was the victim. Sikong Ju was the gigolo and the one who attacked. Just like that, Qin Sheng and Chu Xia happily deduced everything. Point 2. Sikong Ju and Liang were sitting in their car in the distance. Point 2. Sikong Ju rubbed his nose. You're not looking for Qin Sheng anymore? 2. There's no need to search all over the school. We'll go straight to the Qin family mansion, Liang said coldly. Point 2. The devious girl had disappeared without a trace. Did she want to look for her? Did he have that much free time? 2. Anyway, she would go home, right, too? So, you chased her right after sex. Are you serious? Sikong Ju asked. Point 2. When did you become AB**TCH? Get out of the car. Liang was annoyed when he heard Sikong Ju's words. He watched Sikong Ju play with women one by one. But Liang didn't have sex with any of them, and he had never even touched them because of his germophobia. Point 2. Sikong Ju was kicked out of the car. F***CKU. Even if you did have sex, you wouldn't have been able to finish. Don't be so ruthless towards me, he shouted at the sports car as it drove away. Point 2. Qin Sheng and Chu Xia sat in the car that Gong Machin had sent to pick them up. It was the same every day. They drove Chu Xia home first. Then Qin Sheng went back to her own house. Point 2. When they pulled up at the Qin family mansion, Qin Sheng frowned. Why did the car in front of her grandfather's house look so familiar? 2. Her eyes narrowed. Nya Feng, I don't want to go home. Can you take me to watch a movie? Or we can go to the mall. 2. That damn monster. The Duke had actually chased her all the way here. 2. No. The president has instructed that you have to be at home on time every day to do your homework. Then, when he comes back at night, he will check your homework. Miss, just listen to him. Nia Feng advised. Point 2. It was almost time for the exam, and this little girl still asked to go to the cinema and the shopping mall. Point 2. No, Nia Feng, I will study hard, but just this once, okay? Qin Sheng said anxiously. Point 2. It was not that she didn't want to do her homework, but she did not expect to be caught at the door of her house by that particular person. Point 2. It was too late to say anything more. Nia Feng had already waited for the iron gate to open before he drove in and had driven the car to the main door. Point 2. Liang's hand was in the pocket of his suit pants. The top of his suit was unbuttoned, revealing his pale pink shirt. The ruby snake-shaped tie clip looked particularly unique. Point 2. The Duke walked to Nia Feng's car and knocked on Qin Sheng's window. Point 2. Should we talk here, or should we go to your house? His tone was cold. Point 2. Qin Sheng opened the window a crack and said, Wait a minute. I'll go in and get your wallet, too. She quickly closed the window again. Nia Feng glanced at the Duke and stepped on the gas to drive the car into the yard. Miss, why are you seeing the Duke again, too? Qin Sheng had a head full of muddled thoughts. She forced a smile. Did she want to see him again, too? She opened the car door and ran into the main building of the mansion. Point 2. I thought you weren't coming back. The school asked you to accompany the Duke, but then you didn't come home until late. How shameless. Qin Yunting said harshly. Point 2. Today, the whole school was talking about Qin Sheng, and she, a real daughter of the Qin family, was overwhelmed. Point 2. Qin Sheng didn't have time to argue with Qin Yunting. She quickly ran to her bedroom, took out Liang's wallet, and then turned around and ran out of the mansion. Point 2. Qin Yunting was curious about what Qin Sheng was doing. She chased to the gate of the mansion and saw her sitting in Liang's sports car. Point 2. This is your wallet. However, you bought those things from me, so I'll keep the money. I didn't touch any of the cards. Qin Sheng got out of the car and ran away. Point 2. Liang's lips twitched. Did he really buy those things, too? However, he didn't care about the money. To him, it was just a tip, small change. Point 2. He opened his wallet and searched for the photo. That was the most important thing. Point 2. When he poured out everything in his wallet, he didn't see the photo. Point 2. Qin Sheng's cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. Stupid girl. Where's the photo that was in my wallet? Give it to me, too. I don't know what you're talking about. What photo? Qin Sheng rolled her eyes. She'd taken a photo as a punishment. Point 2. You don't know? I'll come into your house now and punish you. Liang's words came out from between his teeth. Point 2. You're going to come in? Fine, your ear stud is still in my hand. If you come in, I'll throw it away. Qin Sheng said sternly. She wanted to see who was more ruthless, too. For the first time in his life, the noble and elegant Duke Liang wasn't getting what he wanted. He wanted to pull the little girl out of his phone and strangle her. Point 2. He had actually forgotten about his earring, but he could not lose it. The importance of the earring was comparable to a picture. 2. Stupid girl, just you wait. He hissed, the word escaping from between his teeth. Point 2. His phone fell on the passenger seat. He stepped on the accelerator. The little girl dared to play with him. Well, you would play with her, too. Qin Sheng stood in front of her bedroom window and watched the red sports car go berserk down the drive. She whistled loudly. Point 2. Another perfect victory. The smile on her lips only lasted a few seconds before it disappeared. The Duke had deliberately made her drink wine, too. She hesitated for a moment and then changed into the little dress that the Duke had bought for her. Point 2. She felt vengeful. What did Qin Yunting say about her just now? She was shameless? In retaliation, Qin Sheng would wear her spoils of war to pester Qin Yunting about it. 2. Grandma He Fun and second Aunt Zheng Min were sitting on the sofa, listening to Qin Yunting talking about Duke Liang too. Grandma, you won't believe what's happened. Qin Sheng has embarrassed our family. When others see the Duke coming, they stand in line, but she was unruly. She went with the Duke and didn't come home until late. She went with the Duke to the teacher's apartment in the school. 2. Qin Sheng walked into the living room and wanted to rip Qin Yunting's mouth off. Cousin, I did accompany the Duke. But didn't you hear the principal ask me to accompany him? Qin Sheng bluntly exposed Qin Yunting's lie. 2. Qin Yunting's face tensed up as she suddenly thought of something. Qin Sheng, do you dare to say that the Duke did not buy that dress for you? That dress has just been released in limited edition, and there are only 3 of them in the Asian region. Why would the Duke buy you a dress, too? When Zhengmin went to buy that dress for Qin Yunting, the dress was snatched away by someone. She did not expect that it was actually bought by the Duke for Qin Sheng, too. This is really embarrassing. The members of the Qin family are not cheap. You are supposed to be a young lady. Zhengmin immediately ridiculed Qin Sheng. 2. The corner of Qin Sheng's lips twitched. If he bought me a dress, it means that I'm accompanying him. According to your logic, the Ha family gave so many gifts to my cousin and Husky on a blind date. It looks like they've done everything, too. Qin Yunting's face went red. What did you say? What proof do you have? Grandma, I'm the young lady of the Qin family. I would never embarrass the Qin family, too. What right do you have to compete with Yunting? We're engaged to the Ha family, so it's only right. When Yunting graduates, she'll get married to Siki. Where are you and that Duke to each other? Strangers. That's what. Zhengmin snorted angrily. 2. The Qin family and the Ha family were both big families. At first, Hasiki wanted to get engaged to Qin Sheng. However, after Hasiki introduced Qin Sheng to his mother changed her mind and let her son get engaged to Qin Yunting. Only Zhengmin, Hifun, and the Ha family knew about that. 2. After the engagement, Hasiki and Qin Yunting's relationship developed very well, which made Zhengmin very relieved. But who the hell was this Duke, too? If Qin Sheng married the Duke, wouldn't she surpass Qin Yunting in status? How could she let this wild girl step above Qin Yunting, too? Why do you look so nervous? I was just saying. Anyway, there's no evidence that the Duke bought me the dress. Qin Sheng said. 2. You dare to say that there's no evidence? This is ridiculous. Mother, you have to punish Qin Sheng severely. She's trying to cause trouble for Yunting. Zhengmin immediately glared at Qin Sheng. 2. Second Ann is right. I do want to cause trouble. But what evidence does cousin have against me? Doesn't that mean cousin caused me trouble first? How does grandma want to punish cousin? Qin Sheng snapped. 2. Zhengmin instantly realized that she had been tricked. Mother, Yunting didn't cause trouble first, too. Then does cousin have evidence? Qin Sheng asked. 2. Qin Yunting looked behind Qin Sheng with a sinister smile on her lips. The whole school can prove that you were with the Duke the whole afternoon. Also, the Duke bought that dress for you. Uncle, Aunt, please judge whether Qin Sheng is shameless or not, too. Qin Sheng immediately felt goosebumps on the back of her neck. She turned around and saw Gong Machen's gloomy face. 2. Who bought her dress? What's going on? Qin Zixin asked, as if she was afraid that Gong Machen did not understand. 2. Uncle, make them stop talking nonsense, too. Who's talking nonsense? Duke Liang bought you that dress. Qin Yunting immediately interrupted Qin Sheng's words. 2. Gong Machen walked towards Qin Sheng slowly. The irritation that radiated off his body was something that no one could ignore. 2. Qin Sheng looked at the man who was approaching her, feeling dazed. She tried to avoid looking into the depths of his eyes, which were as cold as the sea. Would he believe their words? 2. Why were you with the Duke again? Didn't I tell you not to see him again? Will you never listen to me? Gong Machen was furious. He could tolerate all of her capriciousness, but he could not tolerate her seeing Liang. 2. Qin Sheng's heart turned cold. Would he rather take Qin Yunting's side over her, too? Qin Sheng raised her head stubbornly and looked at the man. You want to know what the Duke and I did? I'll tell you now, too. She grabbed Gong Machen's arm and pulled him upstairs. Then she dragged him into the bedroom and locked the door behind her. 2. Qin Sheng, are you done messing around? Let go. Gong Machen waved Qin Sheng's hand away. 2. I'm not done messing around. Didn't you want to know what the Duke and I did, too? Qin Sheng kissed the man's lips. That's what we did, too. Let's see if I don't SS him off, she thought. Point two. Oh my God. She felt all kinds of comfort as she looked into Gong Machen's angry face. Point two. Gong Machen was angered by the girl. She was the girl he had doted on for 18 years, too. The thought of Qin Sheng kissing Liang made him want to tear the room apart, too. He pulled Qin Sheng into his arms. Don't anger me anymore, understand? Or else, too. Or else what? He couldn't think of anything that could threaten her. He couldn't bear to hurt her. It was like his complicated heart was tangled in a net. Point two. The wild vixen in his arms still had a temper. She struggled in his arms and scratched his body with her small claws. Point two. What are you going to do about it, eh? You believe Qin Yunting's words. Why do you believe her words and not mine, too? The more Qin Sheng spoke, the more aggrieved she became. It was already bad enough that she'd been touched by the Duke. And now, she was even misunderstood by her own uncle. And her uncle actually didn't believe her, too. Her tears filled her eyes, but she did not allow them to fall. Point two. She was such a stubborn person. Usually, when she cried, she would only pretend to cry. That was her acting flirtatiously. When she really wanted to cry, she would not let the tears fall. Point two. Gong Machen silently endured the girl's small claws, and shallow red marks grazed his body. Point two. It's not that I don't believe you, it's just that. It was just that he cared about her too much. Point two. He hugged the girl even tighter, and his big hand held her small hand. Be careful, your nails will crack, and you'll cry out in pain again, too. The man's gentle voice and doting tone instantly quashed all the stubbornness that Qin Sheng had built up. She nestled in the man's arms and cried out, feeling wrong. Point two. The girl who didn't usually cry made Gong Machen's heart ache. The girl who cried out also gave him a fright. He had never seen her cry like this. Point two. What happened with you and the Duke? Did Liang bully you? Tell me. I'll kill him, too. He held the girl's little face with his hands and wiped away her tears. Point two. Qin Sheng buried her head in Gong Machen's shoulder, letting the tears wet his sturdy frame. Point two. No one dares to bully me. Whoever bullies me, I'll bully them right back. It's just that you took Yunting's side. You believed her. That's why I feel wrong, too. When she thought of the time Gong Machen fought with Liang for her, she was so scared that she didn't dare to let him risk his life for her again. Point two. Gong Machen paused for a moment. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have doubted you. I was worried about Liang. Why did you meet again, too? Qin Sheng choked and said, he donated to the school library and laboratory, and then we met. The principal asked me to have dinner with the Duke, and then I got drunk and vomited all over him. So he bought me new clothes, too. As she explained the reason, she spotted her dirty school uniform and Liang's dirty shirt in the trash can in the bathroom. She vaguely remembered that she had vomited. Point two. Gong Machen frowned. Liang was going to donate money for the school library and laboratory, too. Tomorrow, I will go to your school and donate to the laboratory and library. I won't let him do it, too. How could he give Liang another chance to harass Qin Sheng in school? Qin Sheng stepped back from the man's arms. Uncle, are you really going to donate, too? Gong Machen wiped the tears from the girl's face. When did Uncle ever lie to you, too? Then can you ask the principal to waive the tuition fees for Chu Xia? Qin Sheng asked. Point two. Sure, whatever my Qin Sheng wants, I'll get it to her. Gong Machen readily agreed. The principal would always listen to him. Point two. All the misunderstandings were finally going to be resolved, and Qin Sheng was in the mood to admire the handsome man in front of her. Point two. Uncle, I want another thing. Will you agree to it too? No, not now. I need to take a shower. It's time for dinner. Gong Machen refused without waiting for Qin Sheng to say it. Point two. Glanced down nervously and said, Uncle, aren't you worried about me marrying someone else, too? She quickly hugged the man tightly again and refused to let go. Point two. I'm worried about you marrying an unreliable man. And if you meet Liang again, I'll deal with you myself, said Gong Machen, and he strode into the bathroom. Point two. Qin Sheng rolled her eyes. What was she supposed to do? He gave off such mixed signals. He didn't seem to want to marry anyone. Point two. She took her phone and sent a message to Chu Xia. If a man doesn't want to marry you, and he doesn't want you to marry another man, what do you do, too? Don't you know that men are all greedy? Otherwise, where did the legend of Zhen Huan come from? Chu Xiao messaged back point 2. Qin Sheng sent a cold sweat emoji. My uncle doesn't have that many women, too. Is your uncle sick, too? Get lost. You're the one who's sick. Qin Sheng messaged back point 2. Does he have a mental disorder then, too? Qin Sheng frowned when she read that. She looked at the bathroom, and her lips formed into a straight line. Before Qin Sheng could grasp the bathroom door, the door was pushed open by Gong Machin point 2. The man came out in a white bathrobe, and there were sparkling water droplets in his hair. His undulating chest muscles made her want to take a bite out of him point 2. What are you waiting for? Go take a shower. Gong Machin tapped the girl's forehead with his finger point 2. What on earth had he raised? He originally thought that he had raised a little sheep, but she turned out to be a little pervert. Looking into his eyes, she was like a little wolf who'd seen meat. It was only a matter of time before the wolf pounced on him and ate him point 2. Qin Sheng watched as the man walked past her. She pouted and rubbed her forehead, which was hurting from the flick. Oh my God, how did he wash so quickly? 2. Her plan for them to bathe together was ruined. 2. She stretched out her little claws, and with a flash in her eyes, she turned around and scraped the man point 2. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Third brother. If Qin Sheng did something wrong, it's because she doesn't have a mother to educate her. Don't scold her too harshly. Open the door, and I'll talk to her too. Qin Zixian's voice came from outside the door. Qin Sheng shoved down her hands, and loads of thoughts rushed through her mind. Was Qin Zixian here to mediate the fight, or was she here to add insult to injury and say that she was a wild child without a mother? 2. F*CK. Why didn't Qin Zixian just get lost? 2. Gong Machin pushed Qin Sheng into the bathroom before walking to open the door. His tone was cold. I'm done talking. There's nothing else to say. 2. Qin Zixian glanced at the man in the bathrobe, then looked at the bathroom. There were lights on in there. The corner of her mouth twitched point 2. Had one of them just taken a shower and the other was still in the bathroom? Or had they both taken a shower together? 2. I just didn't trust Qin Sheng, so I came to talk to you. I was afraid that she would do something mischievous. You were too angry, she said reluctantly point 2. I'm not that angry. I need to change now, Gong Machin said and closed the door point 2. Qin Sheng only wanted to laugh in the bathroom. Was Qin Zixian worried that she would be hurt by Gong Machin, or was she worried that she wouldn't be hurt? 2. Qin Zixian probably didn't hear the sound of her being hurt and wanted to come in and convince Gong Machin to beat her up. What the F*CK, too? Qin Zixian was shut outside Gong Machin's bedroom, and the door had almost slammed into her nose point 2. She was so angry that she stomped her feet. Gong Machin had closed the door, still needing to change, but she knew Qin Sheng was still in the bathroom point 2. No matter how she thought about it, the scene was too unpleasant for her point 2. Qin Sheng could not stay here. If Qin Sheng stayed here for much longer, she would not be able to marry Gong Machin too. When Qin Sheng came out of the bathroom, the man had already gone. A dress and a set of panties were on the bed point 2. She smiled, put on the clothes that her uncle had prepared for her, and then left the room point 2. Outside the door, she heard her grandfather's cold voice say, "Where's Qin Sheng? After what she did, she doesn't dare to come to see me, too." Qin Sheng stopped in her tracks. Without asking, she knew that Qin Yunting must have complained to their grandfather point 2. "Why wouldn't I dare to see you, grandfather?" she said as she walked through the door point 2. Qin Yunting snorted. "With what you did, only you are shameless enough to come out and see people, too." "Father, Qin Sheng is older now. If she does things like this, it will affect her reputation. I'm afraid that no noble young master will want her in the future. We should send her abroad to study before the matter spreads, too. You know what her results are like. I don't think she would be able to get into a university in this nation. She's the child of our Qin family, so we can't just ignore her. We'll just pay her tuition fees and send her to a university in a different nation. I know a girls' school that is tough on rebellious girls. The teachers are very strict in educating students who are ladies." Qin Zixian did not wait for Qin Zhe to speak, coming up with a long list of solutions point 2. Qin Sheng looked at her aunt coldly. She had to admit that her aunt was a keen thinker. The girls' school was tough on rebellious girls? Why didn't she just send her to a monastery to be a nun? 2. She sat down next to her uncle and looked around at everyone who was sitting at the table. It was as if she was about to be judged. Point 2. I wonder what I've done to make my aunt hate to see me here. 2. Qin Zixian's face stiffened as she gritted her teeth and said, "Why is it that I hate to see you here? I'm doing this for your own good. Are you going to marry someone in the name of sleeping with them? I'm afraid that if you marry into an ordinary family, they will despise you. How are you going to live in the future? Do you know how much the girls' school costs for a semester? It's 500,000 yuan, too. 500,000 yuan for a semester? Just to exile me to a different country." Qin Sheng spat. Point 2. Qin Sheng picked up her chopsticks and put an abalone into her mouth. "Why are you like this towards me? Don't tell me that when I get married in the future, I'll just sleep with a man. I don't know why any man would marry you, too." "Father, look at Qin Sheng. She is a disgrace." Qin Zixian's saint-like face turned red from the insults Qin Sheng had thrown at her. Point 2. Qin Zai's hand hit the dining table, making a terrifying sound. The entire dining room was dead silent. The old man had always been a tyrant. When he was angry, even if he didn't dare to speak. Point 2. "Godfather, things aren't like the rumors. Qin Sheng has nothing to do with Liang. I sent someone to the school to investigate. It was the principal who asked Qin Sheng to accompany Liang as a student representative. Chu Xia was there at the time. Later, Qin Sheng got drunk and vomited all over herself. Liang only bought Qin Sheng clothes, nothing more." Gong Machen's voice was steady, containing his sternness. His aura didn't lose to Qin Zai's tyrannical ways. Point 2. Qin Yunting was stunned. If Gong Machen had explained it clearly, wouldn't she look guilty and devious in front of her grandfather? Qin Sheng would look like a saint, too. "No, uncle, you must have been deceived," she blurted out. Point 2. Gong Machen looked at Qin Yunting coldly. He didn't say anything, but his coldness made Qin Yunting cower into herself, and she dared not say another word. Point 2. "Yunting, how old are you? How can you know so much? Do you believe what others say? Who is your uncle? How could he be deceived?" Zheng Min tried to help her daughter out of the predicament. Point 2. Misbelieving rumors and creating trouble were definitely not a great combination. Point 2. Qin Zai stood up and glanced at Qin Sheng. "Follow me, too." They stood up and respectfully watched Qin Zai leave the room. No one dared to sit down. Point 2. Qin Sheng was the only one who acted as if she hadn't heard her grandfather. She sat there and continued to eat her honey-flavored plum meat. Point 2. Gong Machen pulled Qin Sheng up. "Go pour some tea for grandfather and apologize, too." Qin Sheng wasn't afraid of anyone. She was only afraid of Gong Machen and would only listen to what Gong Machen said. Point 2. She picked up the tea served by the servants and walked to Qin Zai's study. Damn it, what was going to happen now, too? Although Qin Zai's old eyes were weathered and wrinkled, they were still as sharp as a blade. Point 2. His gaze landed on Qin Sheng, who was unwilling to admit defeat. His voice was so deep that it sounded like it came from a deep well. "Do you know your mistake, too?" Qin Sheng placed both of her hands on the tea in front of Qin Zai and carried it mechanically. "Grandfather, please have some tea, and please calm down." She lowered her voice and muttered the last sentence. "Please don't die of anger." "Geez, too." Qin Zai spat out the tea he had just drunk. "Ahem. I'm old, but I'm not deaf, too." A group of imaginary birds were flying around Qin Sheng's head. If her grandfather was not deaf, he would have heard everything she said just now, too. She knew that her grandfather usually did not care about words. Other people would talk for a long time, but grandfather would not listen if he did not like their words. She thought that her grandfather could not hear clearly, too. She pursed her lips. "Grandfather, what? I was just saying that if grandfather dies of anger, I won't be able to save him, too." Obviously, her words did not save her. Qin Zai rolled his eyes at his granddaughter. "Your grandfather doesn't have dementia or amnesia, too." Disrespecting her grandfather meant she was practically scolding the whole family. Having such a granddaughter made him despair at times. Point 2. Qin Sheng was about to bang her head against the wall. Was this a sign that he wasn't forgiving her, too? This was the first time she had seen her sturdy grandfather roll his eyes. It was probably down to him losing his breath due to the anger. Point 2. It was obvious that everything Qin Sheng said was in vain. so she might as well not say anything, too. She did not care about the rules at home. She sat down on the sofa and rested her feet on the coffee table. Point two. I said what I said. What do you want to do about it? Let's make it clear first. I'm not going to that nun school. Don't even think about making me leave this nation. But if you want to chase me away from this house, hurry up and do it. I don't want to stay here, too. Qinzhe's deep gaze lingered on Qin Sheng. He picked up the crutch beside his chair and hit Qin Sheng's leg. Point two. Get your legs off the table. I don't know how Machin raised you to be so unruly. Qinzhe said. Point two. Qin Sheng rubbed her hurt leg as she said impolitely, "If you say so, then I'll say so. But what does this have to do with my uncle? My surname is Qin, but he has no obligation to raise me. You don't want me? Then throw me out, too. Are you blaming the Qin family for not raising you well?" Qinzhe asked. Point two. No, I didn't mean that. If you don't care about me, I can live somewhere else. 2. Qin Yunting was always causing trouble for Qin Sheng. She caused this situation by causing trouble for her and making them all believe she was shameless. If only they knew the truth, too. Qinzhe paused thoughtfully. I asked you to reflect on your mistakes. Did you, too? I didn't do anything wrong, and I didn't do anything shameful. You can't blame me. Qin Sheng said righteously. Point two. It wasn't her idea to accompany Duke Liang to dinner, and it wasn't her idea to get drunk. So what exactly had she done wrong? 2. Is that right? Since you were wronged, why didn't you fully explain? Instead, you admitted and talked back? Do you think that since everyone has misunderstood you, you might as well give up? Qinzhe sighed. Point two. This isn't called ambition, it's called stupidity. Not only does it not prove that you are capable, but it also allows the person who caused you trouble to get what they want. If Machin didn't investigate the matter clearly, did you plan to keep taking the blame? Qinzhe asked. Point two. Qin Sheng looked at her grandfather in surprise. Could it be that he didn't want her to be misunderstood? Wow, too. If it wasn't said by Uncle, what if it was said by me? Would you believe it, too? If you don't say it, how do you know that others won't believe it? Qinzhe asked in return. Everything has to be fought for. If you don't fight for it, do you blame others for not giving you a chance? 2. Qin Sheng was stunned. She had never thought of that before. Point two. There was a knock on the door of the study, which was exceptionally clear in the quiet room. Qinzhe raised his hand. Machin is here to pick you up. Go ahead. When you can't sleep at night, think about how your mother risked her life to give birth to you just to let you live like this. Qin Sheng's brain seemed to have been struck by lightning. She looked at Qinzhe in astonishment. Her mother had always been a taboo in this house. She didn't expect that to come out from her grandfather's mouth. Point two. The knocking on the door echoed into the room again, bringing Qin Sheng's thoughts back to reality. Point two. She stood up and opened the door. Gong Machin was standing outside. Godfather, it's late. It's time for Qin Sheng to do her homework, Gong Machin said. Point two. Qinzhe closed his eyes in a sign of agreement. Point two. Gong Machin took Qin Sheng's hand and brought her back to the bedroom. The unusually quiet girl made him uncomfortable. What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Or had you been scolded by your grandfather, too? Qin Sheng sat on the sofa and curled herself into a ball. She had never thought that her grandfather would throw her a problem like this. Point two. Her mother gave her life to give birth to her just to let her live like this, too. In the next moment, she stood up from the sofa, ran to the small desk, took out her homework, and started to write. Point two. The girl, who did her homework silently and obediently, stunned Gong Machin. He didn't know what medicine she had just taken, too. 2. Qin Sheng, take a rest. I asked the kitchen staff to make tapioca for you, too. Don't want anything. Please don't disturb me, too. Gong Machin's forehead was covered in black lines. 2. Qin Sheng, I brought you milk tea and egg tarts. You didn't eat much for dinner, too. No, don't bother me, too. Gong Machin was swamped in dark clouds. Point two. 2. Qin Sheng, I made you some creamy seafood soup. It's your favorite, too. Uncle, you're so annoying. I'm doing my homework. Please be quiet for a while, too. Gong Machin put his hands on his waist. She was only 18 years old, and she already found him annoying? When she cried, he knew to hug her. When she was naughty, he knew to control her. However, she was such a quiet girl now, and he didn't know what to do with her. Point two. After a long time, Qin Sheng finished her homework and walked to Gong Machin with a stack of papers. Point 2. Uncle, can you check if it's right? She still wasn't sure if she was right about the advanced mathematics. Point 2. Gong Machin raised his hand and touched the girl's forehead. Her body temperature was even more normal than his. Uncle, what are you doing? I'm not sick. Qin Sheng waved Gong Machin's hand away unhappily. Point 2. Gong Machin admitted that she was not sick. He had hoped that Qin Sheng would be obedient and study day and night. But now that it had come true, he was confused. Point 2. Okay, I'll help you, too. After a few days of homework, everything was right. The next day, what surprised Gong Machin even more was that Qin Sheng got up without him calling for her. Point 2. He drove Qin Sheng to school and looked at the demure girl in the rearview mirror. He was in a dilemma. Did the heavens know that he didn't have much time left and that conscience had taught her to be obedient? 2. He watched Qin Sheng walk into the classroom and then turned around to walk towards the principal's office. Point 2. President Gong, nice to meet you. The principal stood up to welcome him. Point 2. I heard that the school wants to renovate the library and laboratory. This check is for you. You can fill in the amount yourself, Gong Machin said as he threw a check on the table. Point 2. The principal was filled with joy, but before he took it, he was interrupted by a man who walked in. Point 2. Principal, didn't you promise to let me donate? Now that you've taken someone else's money, is that really okay? Leon walked into the room. His tone was evil, and there was a threat in it. Point 2. Gong Machin stood up. Leon, I've already paid the money. If you want to donate, please do it earlier next time. 2. Even if you pay, the school is not yours. Just like Qin Sheng. No matter what you do, you're destined to never get her. Liang said in a voice that they could hear. Soon, you won't even be able to kiss her. Do you need me to continue? The corners of Gong Machin's lips twitched slightly. It doesn't matter if the school is mine or not. It definitely won't be yours. And neither will Qin Sheng. Stay away from her, too. The volume of his voice was now audible to everyone in the room. Point 2. Principal, do you dare not take my money? Liang's cold eyes landed on the principal's face. Point 2. Gong Machin turned to look at the principal. His eyes glared at him. Do you dare to accept it, too? The principal was about to crumble to dust. He didn't realize how hot money could be. Dear me, too. The principal could not afford to offend either of these men. He looked at Liang and then turned to Gong Machin, his legs shaking uncontrollably. Point 2. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. His life was at risk here, too. The principal paused, his lips trembling so much that he could not speak. Our school will not build a new library or laboratory for the time being. Thank you, Duke Liang, CEO Gong Machin, for your good intentions. 2. How much did he mean what he just said? But he couldn't exactly take money. He'd be throwing his life away, too. Liang whistled. Ha. He doesn't want it anymore. Shame. There's nothing more to play with. I'm leaving, too. Gong Machin turned around and walked out of the principal's office after Liang. If you dare to harass Qin Sheng again, don't blame me if I'm impolite to you, too. Liang turned around and looked at Gong Machin. How can you be impolite to me? I do what I want. Maybe one day when I'm happy, I'll even marry her, too. Without waiting for Gong Machin to reply, Liang took out his own phone when it started to ring. Point 2. Mom, what's the matter? Liang was dumbfounded, listening to his mother. The heavens wouldn't play with him like that, right? 2. Mom, wait a moment. I'll talk about it when I get back. Liang strode down the stairs. Point 2. Liang just wanted to shout at the heavens. He tried to speak casually, so as to not give anything away to Gong Machin. Point 2. Gong Machin looked at Liang in surprise. He didn't know what was going on with the man's family, but then it had nothing to do with him, he supposed. Point 2. Before leaving, he walked to Qin Sheng's classroom and looked at the girl through the glass window of the door for a long time. Point 2. 2. At the gate of the Qin family's mansion, a rich woman was sitting in a luxury car. Ju was in the driver's seat in front of her. She was holding a cell phone elegantly. Point 2. However, all her elegance was shadowed by her son's anger. Point 2. What? You're not coming over? Do you think that if you don't come over, I won't still be able to propose marriage? Do you not think I'll go in and propose marriage right now? With our family background, I believe that the Qin family won't refuse. Roland, Liang's mother, raised her thin and curved eyebrows. Her son actually said that he wouldn't be able to get along with Qin Sheng. Go in. Mom, where are you? Liang asked nervously. Point two. I'm at the entrance of the Qin family's mansion. I'm not discussing this with you over the phone, whether you come or not. Today's marriage proposal will go ahead. You've already slept with a girl, yet you're still not responsible? Our family can't do such a wicked thing. Roland said. Point two. What? Liang instantly felt a headache coming. Who told you that I slept with her? Two. Sikong-ju? Who else? Roland said. Point two. Sikong-ju was sitting in front of her. He gulped a heavy breath. He felt like he had to commit seppuku to atone for his sins. How could he be sold so easily? Liang would think he betrayed him. Point two. Just you wait, I'll come now. Liang stepped on the gas pedal. He had to get to the Qin mansion. His mother, who forced him to get married over and over again, would definitely run in to propose the marriage without him stopping her. Point two. He looked up at the blue sky, wanting to cry, but no tears came. Mum was so meddlesome. This couldn't happen, could it, too? He did not expect what he'd said to Gong Machin to actually come true. He uttered those words again, to make sense of it all. One day, when I'm happy, I'll marry her. It turned out to be a prophecy, too. In a flash of metal and sound, Liang's sports car roared as it arrived in front of the Qin family's mansion. He jumped out of the car and went straight to Sikong-ju. Point two. Sikong-ju looked at the man who was charging at him with a panicked expression. He was about to crawl into the ground to avoid the man's clutches, but he wasn't fast enough. Point two. Auntie, I'm only in this situation because of you. You have to protect me, too. Protect you? Don't worry. Auntie's demeanor is great. There are plenty of ways to protect you. Roland said. Point two. Sikong-ju. Liang rushed over and grabbed Sikong-ju's collar. Point two. Auntie, Sikong-ju screamed. Point two. Roland looked at her son sternly. Let him go. I force him to say it. Come at me if you dare. I'm not afraid of you. You think me a scoundrel, and you want me to be a pauper for the rest of my life. Ah, too. As she spoke, she burst into tears, as if she had been wronged for 8 lifetimes. Liang rolled his eyes and let go of Sikong-ju's collar. Okay, mother, but can't you quit the act? You cry every time, too. Roland immediately stopped crying. She elegantly took out a small mirror from her bag and touched up her makeup. She looked completely different to the woman who was crying hysterically just a second ago. Point two. It's a great trick, as long as it goes well, that is. When I dealt with your father, I used this trick to make sure everything went my way. I like to get my own way. As you already know, said Roland, flicking her polished nails extravagantly. Point two. Liang only wanted to ask, did God really have to give him a silly mother? Seriously, how did he end up with such a mother? 2. Sikong-ju took advantage of this opportunity to steal away from Liang. If it didn't run now, when could he too? Liang sat next to his mother. He could not force her to change her mind, but he could only try. Point two. Mother, you said that you would marry me to the Qin girl after I slept with her once. This is too rushed. Why don't I try to find a few more women that are more suitable for me? Liang did not dare to speak the truth, that he hadn't actually slept with Qin Sheng. He was afraid that he would be laughed at by Sikong-ju. He also could not lose face as a man, not with his reputation. He could only go along with it. Point two. Bah, you want to pick a few more? You can't even touch them with your germophobia. It's not easy to meet a woman that you like. I don't care how many more you want to find. You have to give me a grandson. I'll stay at home with my daughter-in-law and grandson while you lead the family. How perfect it will be. Roland began to daydream even before she had seen her future daughter-in-law. Point two. Liang felt a headache coming on again. What was wrong with her? Why did all this talk of grandchildren come out? 2. How can you be thinking about a grandson so quickly? I don't agree. I still think it's too rushed. I'm not happy yet. I want to be happy before I marry her. Plus, that stupid girl dared to play me. I even have an intention to punish her. Liang said angrily. Point two. Thinking of Qin Sheng, her odious ways and how she'd played him, gave him all kinds of toothaches and made him want to punish her so badly, too. Roland stopped her son and said, You don't have any experience, do you? Let me tell you, the more one-night stands you have, the easier it is for you to remain a bachelor. Tell me, She didn't take any birth control pills after you had sex, did she? 2. Liang's head throbbed. Mom, how would I know if she took any pills? I can't marry her just now. I just can't. I think I'll send you home, too. Why not? I'm telling you sweet truths. Whether she's pregnant or not, you have to get engaged to her. Roland said. You have to, too. Why? Liang asked. He did not understand what possessed his mother, so point 2. Is the photo still in your wallet? If it is, take it out, Roland ordered 2. A dark shadow flashed across Liang's eyes. Mother, let me tell you, do you know how detestable that girl is? She stole the photo from me. Do you really think I can marry such a girl? 2. She stole it? Ha! Of course she stole it. Roland sighed contentedly. Fate is really happening. It's predestined, let me tell you. Liang was confused. Mother, didn't you take your medicine before you came out? Why are you happy that she stole my photo? 2. Your mom's brain is working fine. Besides, she took your photo. It's not stealing. It's returning it to its owner. Roland said point 2. Liang frowned and immediately said, the photo is hers, too. Yes, and the girl on it is her. Roland smiled brightly, not caring about her son's angry face point 2. You knew where the girl in the photo was, and you wanted me to come to this country to look for her. Liang was speechless point 2. You can't blame me for the trouble you've endured. If I told you to look for your future wife, would you have been willing to come here? That's why your smart mother thought of this brilliant plan. I wanted you to look for the girl in the photo so that you two could meet naturally. That way, it would be easy for you two to develop a relationship, said Roland wisely point 2. And didn't you guys do just that? A boy and girl have casual encounters, and they start to like each other. Roland said seriously point 2. Casual encounters. The corner of Li Ang's lips twitched, and his mind was filled with the image of that devious girl holding a bag full of sex toys and contraception, wanting to him point 2. Damn it. He would rather have never had that kind of encounter point 2. So, I found the person you're looking for. After the mission is completed, I'll return to our country tomorrow. Liang's voice sank point 2. Returning to our country is fine, but you must get engaged with the Qin girl and bring her back with you, Roland said point 2. Even if she is the girl you're looking for, I won't agree to it. Liang's words did not leave any room for negotiation point 2. You won't agree? Then let me tell you, I've already decided on your marriage. Do you know why I only gave you one earring in your ear? Because I want to give you a betrothal gift. I'll go in and give it to that girl to wear, said Roland point 2. The earring is called Radiant Love. Roland glanced at her son's ear and frowned. She realized that the earring was gone. Hey, where's the earring gone from your ear? 2. I lost it. Liang only wanted to curse. Why did that Qin girl like to steal? She stole his earring, too. You lost it? F***. How dare you lose your earring? That earring was worth more than 10 million. Roland's eyes blazed. Well, it doesn't matter if you lost it. I can replace it with something else. As long as you hide it from Old Man Yun, it'll be fine, too. Liang was confused. Who's Old Man Yun, too? Child, don't interrupt. Come in with me to propose marriage. Otherwise, I'll go crazy in your car. Then we'll see how you'll answer to your father. Roland realized that he had almost let the cat out of the bag point 2. Mother, mother! Before Liang could stop Roland, he watched her get out of the car. Just then, the door of the Qin mansion opened and Zheng Min walked out. She saw the luxury car outside and the woman in expensive clothes point 2. The woman was wearing a yellow satin cheongsam with perfect tailoring. A tailor who could make such a garment must be an old master in Shanghai. Those antique masters could only make a few limited edition cheongsam a year, but it wasn't really something you could buy with money point 2. There was also a black pearl necklace around the woman's neck. From the color, Zheng Min could determine that it was a natural wild pearl from the deep sea. With the price that would have cost, she gasped point 2. She immediately put on a smile and said, May I know who this lady is looking for at the Qin family mansion? 2. In-laws. I'm here to propose marriage. Roland opened her mouth and called out to their future in-laws point 2. Zheng Min's face darkened. Her daughter was already engaged. Could it be for Qin Sheng? How could Qin Sheng be so lucky? Which young lady of the Qin family are you proposing marriage to? Zheng Min's words came out from between her teeth point 2. The eldest Miss Chin, Roland said and pulled her son over. This is my son, Duke Liang, too. Old Man Yin said that the girl was the only daughter of the eldest son of the Qin family, and therefore was the eldest daughter of the Qin family. Point two. Zheng Min's cold face froze, and in a flash, her smile was brighter than a flower. Qin Yunting was the eldest daughter, too. Oh my God, it's Duke Liang. Please come in, too. Zheng Min's heart was beating fast. Yesterday, she had been jealous of Qin Sheng, but today, the Duke proposed to her daughter, too. As if she was afraid that the Duke would not come in, she quickly made way and ran in, informing her mother-in-law to come and welcome him. Point two. There was really no one else who felt as helpless as him. Liang was speechless at his mother. Point two. Mother, why are you doing this? I don't agree, he hissed to his mother. Point two. Tisk, if you are being this disrespectful, don't call me this, mother. Roland was still confident in herself. No matter what, her son would listen to her in the end. Point two. Ethan did not expect the Duke to come to propose marriage, so she came out to welcome him. Sir, please take a seat. Madam, please take a seat. Ethan raised her hand and gestured for everyone to sit down. Point two. You're the girl's grandmother, right? I brought my son to propose marriage to Miss Chin, Roland said. Point two. Ethan's face was full of smiles, but she immediately felt troubled. Miss Chin of our family is already engaged. She's betrothed to the Ha family. That family was originally a part of the royal family, too. She did not forget to speak up for her granddaughter. To be able to get engaged to a descendant of the royal family showed how high her granddaughter's status was. Point two. Zheng Min hurriedly pulled her mother-in-law to one side and lowered her voice. How can the Ha family be more powerful than the Duke? We should break off the engagement with the Ha family, too. Excuse me? Who are the Ha family? More powerful than our Duke? You dare to betroth your granddaughter to the Ha family. I think you don't want your status anymore. Son, destroy them, Roland said arrogantly. Point two. Liang's worried heart finally relaxed. That girl was engaged? Did that mean he was off the hook, too? Although he was puzzled by the Qin family's words, it was the best for him. He didn't want to marry her just now. Point two. Mother, she's already engaged. Why should we propose marriage? Let's go. Liang reached out and pulled his mother's hand. Point two. Roland glared at her son and said, No way. I want to see who dares to fight with us for the girl the Duke's family has taken a fancy to, too. I don't dare. I don't dare. Don't worry. As long as the Duke proposes marriage, I'll break off the engagement with the Ha family. Zheng Min hurriedly said, afraid that the marriage would fail. Point two. The maid walked to her side and reported to Zheng Min that Miss Chin had returned. She immediately left the living room to find her daughter. Point two. Yunting, you're back just in time. The Duke has come to propose to you. Hurry up and change your clothes, and then I will bring you to meet the Duke. Zheng Min's mouth couldn't close. Point two. Qin Yunting was about to refute Zheng Min's words when she saw Qin Sheng walk through the door. Thinking of the humiliation yesterday, she immediately spoke smugly. Point two. The Duke has proposed to me. Of course I will agree. She turned to look at Qin Sheng. Did you hear that? Even if you accompanied a man to have sex, a man will not like a slut like you. He still wants to propose to me, too. Qin Yunting raised her chin arrogantly and walked past Qin Sheng, following Zheng Min to change her clothes. Point two. Qin Sheng was stunned. Liang wanted to propose to Qin Yunting? The corners of her lips curled up into an evil smile. She wondered whether Qin Yunting would cry back to her parents when she realized that the Duke had a small appendage after rolling into bed with him. 2. She felt all kinds of pleasure when she thought of the image of Qin Yunting discovering the Duke's shortcomings. When Qin Yunting walked into the living room in her long lace dress, she raised her proud chin. Since the Duke came to ask for her hand in marriage, she would use the word ask very loosely. Point two. Zheng Min proudly introduced her daughter. Madam, this is my daughter, Qin Yunting, too. She dressed Qin Yunting up like a flower. Although it took her some time, it was definitely worth it. Even Yunting liked it. Point two. Roland was stunned. Didn't Old Man Yun say that this girl's mother was dead, too? Of course, if her mother had not died, it would not be her son's time to marry her. But then where did this woman come from? 2. Am I wrong? Isn't her mother dead? She blurted out. Point two. Zheng Min almost screeched. Qin Sheng's mother was the one who died, too. But for the sake of her daughter's marriage, she endured it. Who spread the rumor that I died? I'm clearly alive and well. Madam, don't be deceived, too. Roland was suspicious. Could old man Yin have gotten this wrong? 2. Well, does your Qin family have another granddaughter? 2. Zheng Min's heart sank. Were they looking for Qin Sheng? Qin Sheng's mother was dead, too. She looked at her mother-in-law and winked. Tifa nodded knowingly. We have a granddaughter, but she's very mischievous. She's not worthy of the attention of the Duchess and Duke. She's probably in school with other boys. She deliberately paused. I mean, maybe she was detained by the teacher or went out to play. And aren't you looking for Miss Qin? Yunting is Miss Qin, too. Qin Sheng, who had been peeping in from outside the door, twitched the corner of her lips. Her grandmother was really good at talking. With one sentence, she made her sound like a bad student. Moreover, she insinuated that she was fooling around with other boys. 2. She took a deep breath. Only this time, she wasn't angry. Just now, she heard that evil woman asked Qin Yunting if her mother was dead. She guessed that Liang was looking for her. Obviously, her grandmother would not give her any chance to be with the Duke. She was happy about that point, too. She smiled and turned around to leave. Her grandmother and second aunt had framed her here, which guaranteed that the Duke would never want to marry her. 2. Roland's face stiffened for a moment. She was with another boy, too. No matter what, her family could not marry an unclean girl. Right, too? It's Qin Sheng. Call her out. She's at home. Liang suddenly said. 2. He knew they were wrong when he saw Qin Yunting come in. He deliberately did not say anything as he did not want to get engaged to that devious girl. But then maybe he was wrong? He would let his mother torture him slowly, too. Who knew that when he turned around, he would see his small head leaning against the door. She hid very well. If it was not for the fact that he could see a little bit outside the door from this angle, no one would have discovered her. 2. What made Liang the most angry was that when Qin Sheng left, she actually had a bright smile on her face. 2. She was so happy to know that his mother had found the wrong person. How much did she not want to marry him? 2. His lips pursed. If he let her succeed, he would not be Duke Liang, too. Hefun's face twitched for a moment before she ordered the servants to find Qin Sheng. Zheng Min said reluctantly, It turns out that I've got the wrong person. I'll go find her, as when that girl goes crazy, these servants won't be able to control her. Yunting, isn't young Master Ha coming later? Go prepare some desserts, too. She helped her embarrassed daughter out of the predicament so that she could leave. 2. Qin Yunting's face stiffened. She forced herself to walk out of the living room with Zheng Min. In the corridor, she snapped her necklace in anger. She hated Qin Sheng to death, too. The pearls on the necklace fell all over the ground. Zheng Min complained to Qin Yunting, her heart aching. 2. What are you doing? This necklace is worth hundreds of thousands. Your father bought it for me for my birthday. She sighed, turned to the servants and shouted, Hurry up. Come and look for the pearls, too. Qin Yunting kicked the pearls at her feet in frustration. All you care about is money. You've completely embarrassed me. If you had used the excuse that I have a fiancé to reject Duke Liang just now, I would have dumped Hasiki, no matter how Qin Sheng and the Duke are, too. But though I'm engaged, I still want Liang, but he doesn't want me. Qin Sheng will surely laugh at me. If Hasiki finds out about this, what will I say to him, too? You only want to blame me. I did it for your own good. How can a Ha family compare to the Duke? Zheng Min's gaze hardened. Qin Sheng wants to marry the Duke, but does she really have such a fate? Don't be anxious. Back then, I could snatch Hasiki for you, and today, I can snatch Duke Liang for you too. Qin Yunting rolled her eyes. Yesterday, I said that SL*T had hooked the Duke into her bed. Grandfather didn't believe me. If she doesn't agree to go with Liang, will he really propose marriage? He asked for her by name. What can we do, too? She's not engaged yet, though, is she? Why are you so anxious? Zheng Min said. 2. Now that the Duke wants to see that SL*T, can you really stop him? Qin Yunting growled. 2. Zheng Min was also in a dilemma. It seemed that Madame Roland had a quick temper. If she met Qin Sheng, she would most likely be engaged to the Duke immediately. 2. Just as the mother and daughter were worrying about how to deal with the situation, Qin Sheng walked out of the kitchen, chewing on a sugar cane. Point 2. She glanced at the pearls on the ground, and a wicked smile appeared on her lips. Io, the aura of my cousin who just got engaged to the Duke is somber, especially if such a pearl necklace has been destroyed. 2. Qin Sheng knew the pearl necklace had been on Qin Yunting's neck. If she did not break it herself, then who did? It was clear that Qin Yunting was in a bad mood, and if Qin Yunting was unhappy, Qin Sheng was very happy. Point 2. The corner of Qin Yunting's lips twitched. What the F asterisk CK? Was Qin Sheng mocking her for not getting engaged? 2. The thing that made her even more angry was the way Qin Sheng ate the sugar cane. She did not look like a lady from a noble family at all. Even with this kind of behavior, she was still liked by the Duke. Point 2. Qin Yunting had acted like a lady for 18 years. Was she not more attractive than this ruffian before her? Her mother did not allow her to touch these things. If she wanted to eat sugar canes, she would ask the servants to use the juicer to extract the juice and drink it. Of course, the feeling was different from actually eating them. Point 2. Qin Yunting's gaze shifted. Qin Sheng, didn't you know that something happened to your best friend, Chu Xia? 2. Qin Sheng was stunned. What did you say? How do you know that something happened to Chu Xia? 2. Did you forget that my fiancé is Hasiki? Today, he brought some people to write a bulletin at school. Chu Xia was in charge of illustrating on the bulletin. Qin Yunting said tauntingly. Point 2. Qin Sheng spat out the sugar cane in her mouth and took a step forward. What did you do to Chu Xia? 2. Qin Yunting sneered. What can we do to her? Is she even worthy? It was that Mr. Sikong who came to the school to cause trouble for her. I brought the message to you. It's up to you whether you save her or not. 2. Qin Sheng threw the sugar cane into the trash can. That man wouldn't really force Chu Xia to pay for sex, would he? She ran straight out of the villa to save Chu Xia. Point 2. Qin Yunting twisted around as Qin Sheng ran away. She took out her phone and sent a message to Hasiki. Get a few boys to teach Qin Sheng a lesson. She's on her way to the school. 2. Zheng Min turned around and walked back to the living room. Mother, Qin Sheng is too unruly. I told her to come and see Duke Liang, but she ran away. She told the Ducal to go to hell. 2. Liang's face corkscrewed into a scowl. Stupid girl. He didn't think she wanted to live anymore, too. Hefan was a shrewd woman. She clearly understood the meaning behind Zheng Min's words. Point 2. She pretended to be angry and said, Have you lost your wits? Why are you saying these things in front of our esteemed guests, too? Zheng Min immediately showed her panic and said, Mother, it's not my fault. Qin Sheng was too unruly. I was also confused by her anger. She actually told the Duke to go to hell, too. She spoke again as if she was afraid that Liang had not heard her. Point 2. Hefan turned to look at Roland and said, I really have to ask Madam to bear with me. My granddaughter is so unruly. She's not like my eldest granddaughter, Yunting. Qin Yunting is very sensible and well-educated. She would never do such an uncultured thing. 2. Roland's face darkened. This daughter-in-law whom she had not met was really naughty, but this woman was right. Maybe Qin Yunting would be a better daughter-in-law. 2. That girl called Qin Sheng. Is her father the eldest son of your family? She asked unwillingly. Point 2. Hefan nodded and said, He's the eldest son of my family. He passed away early, so his daughter lacks parents and is uneducated. 2. Roland sighed lightly. How could she be wrong? She was secretly annoyed. She should not have agreed to the marriage with old man Yin. Point 2. I don't think Qin Sheng will be back in a while. I'd like to invite the Duke and Madam to have dinner at my house. Zheng Min said. Of course, having them for dinner was not for Liang and Qin Sheng. She wanted to create time for her daughter to spend with the Duke, so that Madame Liang would like Qin Yunting. Point 2. Okay, Liang said. Point 2. Roland looked at Liang in surprise. She wanted to leave, but she did not expect her son to agree to the dinner invite. Point 2. She pursed her lips. Well then, we'd rather not disturb you. 2. How can you disturb us? We would love to have such distinguished guests like Lord Ju and Madam for dinner. I will cook for you myself. Zheng Min walked out of the living room, happily. Point 2. As she walked out, she looked at Qin Yunting, who was standing outside the door. What are you doing here? Come with me to the kitchen. You can cook for the Duke yourself, too. Qin Sheng scoldedly, and and he isn't even angry. Qin Yunting stomped her feet in anger. Point 2. Why are you annoyed? If she hasn't angered him this time, don't worry, there will be other times. She's bound to anger the Duke at some point. You have to act like a good girl now. If the time comes and the Duke doesn't choose you, who will he choose? Zheng Min pulled her daughter towards the kitchen. Point 2. How long would she have to wait until the Duke had made his decision? Qin Yunting was already running out of patience. Point 2. The corners of Qin Yunting's lips twitched coldly. Qin Sheng should have already arrived at school by now. It was a pity that she couldn't go. She really wanted to see how Qin Sheng would be dealt with by the male students, too. In the school, Qin Sheng ran straight to her classroom. However, there was no sign of Chu Xia in the silent classroom. There was only Ha Siki sitting on a table. Point 2. She walked over. Where's Chu Xia? Has she been taken away? Where's she? 2. Ha Siki looked up at the girl. She had sweat dribbling down her face. His eyes darkened. How would I know where Chu Xia is, 2? You're the class monitor. You didn't even dare to say a word when you saw your classmate being taken away by a bad guy? Are you still AF * King Man? Qin Sheng roared angrily. Point 2. Hasiki's lips twitched, and he grabbed Qin Sheng's shoulder. Who are you calling not a man? 2. What are you staring at? I'm scolding you. You be * starred. What else do you know besides licking women? Qin Sheng scolded loudly. Point 2. F * CK. Hasiki was so angry that Sheng turned pale. He pushed her back and pressed her against the desk. Who are you scolding, 2? You're the class monitor who doesn't know how to protect your classmates. You're not a man. Qin Sheng roared angrily. Point 2. Not a man? I'll let you see whether I'm a man or not. Is it because the Duke didn't serve you well yesterday that you're now clamoring for a man? Hasiki pressed Qin Sheng against the desk. Point 2. The girl lay on the desk with her legs dangling on the ground. Her height matched Hasiki's height perfectly. Point 2. Qin Sheng had never expected that Hasiki would do such a thing to her. He usually hated her so much, yet he still had the desire to sleep with her. 2. F * CK. It could only be said that men were all animals that thought with their groins. When they were in heat, anything could be pressed under their bodies. Point 2. She suddenly kicked her long leg towards Hasiki's hip bone. Hasiki's lower body was kicked to the side, but his upper body was still pressed on Qin Sheng's body. Point 2. He used his strength to press down on Qin Sheng. You F * King dare to kick me, 2. Kick you? I dare to hit you. Qin Sheng slapped Hasiki's face. Since both of his hands were on her shoulders, she knew he couldn't dodge. Point 2. The crisp sound of the slap echoed in the classroom, and Hasiki's face turned from white to red. What are you fighting me off for? Didn't you have sex with your uncle and the Duke? Why can't I? He lowered his head and kissed the girl's lips. Point 2. Qin Sheng turned her head to avoid Hasiki's mouth. Point 2. Husky, you're Qin Yunting's dog, 2. Say it again, and I'll strangle you to death. No man was willing to be a woman's dog, and Hasiki was the same. Point 2. What are you then if you're not? You'll believe whatever Qin Yunting says. If you're not a dog, then what are you? You want me? Do you believe that I won't tell Qin Yunting and you won't be dumped by your master? 2. She's currently at home seducing Duke Liang and wants to be his fiancée. Qin Sheng said bluntly. If she didn't provoke Husky, then she wasn't good at her ability. Point 2. Whatever. I'd be happy if she dumped me. No matter how much she wanted me, I did not want her. She's just my leftovers. If Liang likes her, he can feel free to pick up my second-hand goods. Hasiki said. Point 2. Qin Sheng was dumbfounded. She never thought that Hasiki would not care about Qin Yunting. After all, she knew that Qin Yunting's first real boyfriend was Hasiki. Point 2. Zheng Min was very strict in educating her daughter in this aspect. She felt that Yunting should be with someone of equal status to her. Obviously, Zheng Min was very satisfied with Hasiki, and the two families were engaged very quickly. Marriage was only a matter of time. That was why she would turn a blind eye to Qin Yunting's behaviors and just let the couple be happy, do whatever they wanted. Point 2. She suddenly remembered what Chu Xia had said. A man only needed one woman. Point 2. But I don't like second-hand goods, Husky. And that's what you are. And you're also a dog, and I don't have a desire to F * CK a dog, 2. Hasiki's face was livid. He did not understand why she never liked him, but he didn't care. He would get what he wanted. Point 2. F asterisk CK a dog? I'll F asterisk CK you right now. He reached out to grab the girl's skirt. Point 2. Qin Sheng kept pushing Hasiki's chest while her other hand slapped the boy's face. She thought he might let go and block her slaps. However, surprisingly, Hasiki didn't seem to feel any pain and allowed her slaps to hit him. He was also daring enough to kiss her mouth. Point 2. She turned her head to avoid his lips, and her gaze happened to lock on the door. Husky, look who's here, too. Hasiki looked at the terrified Qin Sheng in surprise. Who could make Qin Sheng so afraid? Qin Yunting and the principal flashed through his mind. Other than the fact that he was angry at Qin Yunting for causing trouble for him and was afraid that the principal would speak to his parents, there was no one else his was afraid of. Point 2. Thinking of the principal, he stood up and looked at the door with fear. He couldn't ruin his class monitor's reputation, but who was at the door? He looked again, carefully. Point 2. Just when Hasiki was distracted, Qin Sheng seized the opportunity and kicked the boy's lower abdomen, pushing him away. She ran to the door and locked it from the outside. Point 2. Only then did Hasiki realize that he had been tricked. No one came at all. Qin Sheng had framed him, too. He ran over and turned the doorknob fiercely. Qin Sheng, open the door for me. Otherwise, don't even think about coming to class tomorrow, too. Oh God, how had he, a class monitor, been tricked by this girl, too? Okay, I don't want to go to class anyway. If you can stop me, I'll ask the principal for leave. Qin Sheng said loudly, standing outside the door. Point 2. What was Qin Sheng afraid of? At worst, she wouldn't be able to go to class. Anyway, her uncle could teach her, too. Hasiki held her breath in her chest. His threat was useless, too. Don't be so smug. Let me tell you, it was your cousin who asked me to find a few boys to teach you a lesson today. I was soft-hearted and gave you a chance. How dare you treat me like this, too? Hee hee. My cousin is really good at scheming. She asked you to deal with me and then seduced Duke Liang. Just wait to be cuckolded. Qin Sheng said and turned to leave. She did not have time to waste with Hasiki. Hasiki slammed his fist on the door. Why did she dislike him so much, too? Qin Sheng ran out of the school building and took out her phone to dial a number. A girl's voice came through the phone. Do you miss me so soon after leaving school? Have you done your advanced math questions? Send a message after you're done. Chu Xia said. Point 2. Qin Sheng heard Chu Xia's teasing voice and realized that she had been tricked by Qin Yunting. 2. I haven't done it yet. I'll send you a message later tonight. Speak soon. She was relieved to hear that Chu Xia was fine. Point 2. Qin Yunting. The corners of her lips curled up into a cold smile. Qin Yunting had used all her tricks on her. It was clear how much Qin Yunting didn't want her to be at home. Point 2. But this time, she decided to be merciful and grant Qin Yunting her wish. She didn't want her to be at home, anyway. She didn't want to go home yet, too. But where could she go at this time? She looked at the time on her phone. Point 2. I'll pick up my man from work and give him a surprise, she thought to herself. Point 2. She took a taxi to Gong Machin's company. But when she walked into the company building, she was stopped by the receptionist at the front desk. Point 2. I'm sorry, miss. Who are you looking for? The front desk attendant asked. Point 2. Qin Sheng looked at the front desk attendant. She didn't know this person. He seemed to be a newcomer. Point 2. I'm here to look for my uncle. After saying that, she wanted to go upstairs, but was immediately stopped by the security guards in the hall. Point 2. I'm sorry. The president has ordered that non-essential people are not allowed to enter, the attendant said. Point 2. Non-essential people? Who are you calling non-essential? Gong Machin is my uncle. Qin Sheng felt that the attendant's brain was frazzled, too. Of course she's calling you non-essential. Other than you, everyone else is a staff member of the Gong group, too. A sharp female voice sounded behind Qin Sheng. She turned around and saw her aunt, Qin Zixian, stood in the hallway. Point 2. Aunt, so you're not going to let me in, right? And you said it was Uncle's order? She definitely didn't believe that Gong Machin would give such an order. Point 2. Don't look at me like that. The one who gave the order was third brother. If you don't believe me, you ask him at home later, Qin Zixian said disdainfully. She raised a hand and looked at her beautiful long nails that were painted in a cardamom color. Point 2. Qin Sheng felt contempt and irritation. Qin Zixian had only been working here for a few days, yet she had instigated uncle to not let her into the company. 2. Why should I wait until he gets off work? I'll go up and ask him now. She walked towards the elevator with familiarity. 2. Don't you understand human language? No. Then we won't treat you like one. You're not a human yourself. Qin Zixian stepped forward to block Qin Sheng. 2. The corner of Qin Sheng's lips twitched violently. She was the sister-in-law of A.B. *TCH. She would always scold people and try to get her own way. 2. Tisk TSK, is sister-in-law scolding me? Don't forget, you're my sister-in-law. According to law, we're related. A mocking light flashed in Qin Sheng's eyes. 2. Qin Zixian choked on her words. Someone throw her out. Where's the security? Hurry up, too. The elevator door rang and Nie Feng ran out. He was responsible for all the security around Gongmachan. When Qin Sheng and Qin Zixian started quarreling, his subordinates reported to him, and he immediately rushed down. 2. Miss Qin, I'll send you home. He took a few steps and grabbed Qin Sheng's arm. 2. Qin Sheng shook Nie Feng's hand away and looked at him with her big eyes. Even you wanted to go home? Why doesn't uncle let me come to the company to look for him? 2. This is the office, so it's not convenient. I'll send you back home. Nie Feng coaxed the girl, wanting to take her away. 2. Did you hear that? My third brother obviously doesn't want to see you, but you still shamelessly cling to his side. You're really like your shameless mother, who only knows how to seduce men. Qin Zixian's words were full of thorns. 2. Qin Sheng stared at the face of the woman opposite her. I know how to seduce men. At least some men let me seduce them. You really want to seduce them, but no one gives you the chance. With your face, how many injections will it take for my uncle to fancy you? 2. Qin Sheng and Qin Zixian's confrontation had attracted over a lot of people in the company. Now, because of Qin Sheng's words, everyone looked at Qin Zixian's face and started to talk about it. It turned out that she had been injected with Botox, too. Qin Zixian's face twitched. She was not deaf and could hear what the others said. My face is natural. I haven't had any injections, too. Qin Sheng came to a sudden realization. Oh, I forgot that my aunt's face is natural. The injections were injected into her chest, too. Qin Zixian almost passed out. She shouted angrily, my chest is real, too. If you say they are real, are they real? How can you prove it? If they are real, you can let everyone touch them. Are your breasts real then? Qin Sheng tilted her head and looked at Qin Zixian with a harmless smile. 2. Qin Zixian was so angry that she was trembling. How could she let others touch her breasts, too? Qin Sheng seemed to have found the woman's weakness. She smiled sweetly and continued, Auntie, you don't dare to let others touch your breasts? That's right. They were only made big after so many injections. How could you let others touch them, too? Qin Sheng smirked. Annie, why is your face so white? Did I say something wrong? I'm your niece. You can't be angry with me, right? 2. Qin Zixian was about to explode from anger. She had forgotten all about her identity as a young lady of the Qin family. She got ready to slap Qin Sheng's face, wanting to slap her out of the solar system. 2. Just as Qin Zixian's palm was about to land on Qin Sheng's face, her arm was grabbed by a man's big hand, too. Qin Zixian turned around and saw Gongmachan's cold face. She panicked and didn't know how much Gongmachan had seen. 2. Third brother, I am. She couldn't find any words to explain her actions. 2. Little uncle. Qin Sheng pounced on Gongmachan. She hung on a man's body like a koala, her legs wrapped around his waist. 2. Little uncle, wow, she cried out loud. I was scared to death. Little aunt wanted to hit me. Thank God you came to save me, uncle. Otherwise, I would have been beaten to death. 2. Qin Sheng wailed loudly, looking like she was the most frightened girl on the planet. 2. Qin Zixian was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. Third brother, don't listen to Qin Sheng's nonsense. I was just scaring her. I didn't really want to hit her. You don't know that Qin Sheng framed me and said that my breasts were fake. Third brother, feel them. How can my breasts be fake, too? Gongmachan hugged Qin Sheng with one arm, and when Qin Zixian grabbed his other arm and was about to put his hand on her chest, he shook her away. 2. Zixian, Qin Sheng is still young. Why are you as inconsiderate as her? 2. The man's cold voice was enough to freeze Qin Zixian. Her face was stiff, and she didn't know what expression to put on. How had she just said such shameless words? She didn't believe that her curvy figure could be compared to a little girl, to Qin Sheng's. She wanted the man to touch her to let him know how capable she was. But the man had blamed her for being inconsiderate, too. She forced a smile. I was angered by Qin Sheng, so I said inconsiderate words. Third brother, don't blame me, too. Gong Machin snorted and carried Qin Sheng to the elevator. Qin Sheng lifted her little head from the man's shoulder and saw Qin Zixian behind them. She stuck out her pink tongue at Qin Zixian and shook her head proudly. Ha! Ha! Ha, too. Qin Zixian almost fainted. There were no tears on Qin Sheng's face. Qin Sheng was only pretending to cry just now. Qin Zixian stomped her foot on the ground. Niefeng, did you see that? Qin Sheng wasn't scared by me at all. She pretended to cry in front of third brother to frame me. 2. Niefeng pursed his lips. What? Fourth miss, what did you say? I didn't see anything, too. Even if he saw something, he would say that he didn't see anything. What kind of person was Gong Machin? He was a hard man, that's what. Gong Machin wasn't a person to be angered. It was best if he kept his mouth shut. He wouldn't speak up for Qin Zixian. 2. Qin Zixian gritted her teeth until they hurt. She watched as the elevator door closed and the shadows of Gong Machin and Qin Sheng disappeared from her sight. Gong Machin brought Qin Sheng to his office. The little girl was like a plaster that he couldn't get rid of. She wouldn't come down, so he could only carry her and sit on his leather executive chair. 2. His big hand patted the girl's bottom. Still not coming down? How old are you? Still clinging to me, too. He remembered that when he first started the company, this little thing was only 10 years old. After school, she would come here to wait for him to get off work. However, not a single day would she sit obediently on the small desk that he had bought for her to do her homework. Her homework was all done on his lap. 2. There was still a small desk and chair in the corner of the extremely large office. 2. I'm going to cling on to little uncle for the rest of my life, Qin Sheng said as she wrapped her arms around the man's neck. 2. Gong Machin's eyes narrowed in pain. If time could stand still at this most beautiful moment, he would choose it to stand still. With her in his arms, he had everything he ever wanted. 2. However, Shiguang would never stop just because of someone's wishes. What should be faced, he would have to face eventually. What should be borne by her, she would have to bear as well. They both would have to bear. 2. He did not urge the girl to come down again, and just like that, he allowed her to snuggle in his embrace. With her in his arms, he reached out for his mouse and looked at the company documents. 2. This man's embrace had always been Qin Sheng's most comfortable nest. She fell asleep in a short while, listening to her uniform breathing sounds. Gong Machin lowered his head and looked at her small face. It was pink and tender, just like when they first met. At that time, she'd also snuggled in his arms and slept very soundly. 2. Thinking back 18 years ago, the corners of his lips curled uncontrollably into a smile. This girl had been a torturous little vixen since she was young. He hugged her, and she slept. When he put her down, she cried. And just like that, he carried her until she was big. 2. The gentle sunlight shone on the sweet girl and the big man. It was quiet and peaceful. The peaceful days were the days that should be cherished. 2. As the clock struck 6, Gong Machin's company was about to close, and its employees about to get off work. 2. Qin Zixian finally found the time to talk to Gong Machin. 2. She knocked on the door of the president's office. Third brother, it's time to get off work. Mother told us to go home for dinner. She said that there was an important guest at home. 2. The door opened, and Qin Zixian's eyes were stunned. The man carried Qin Sheng out, and Qin Sheng looked like she was asleep. She could tell that they had been hugging each other for a long time. 2. Thinking about that made her heart ache. 2. Gong Machin walked out and walked past Qin Zixian without saying a word. Qin Zixian could only follow behind Gong Machin. She wanted to tell Gong Machin about the whole ordeal she'd had with Qin Sheng in detail. It wasn't her fault. Qin Sheng had angered her. 2. However, the man carried Qin Sheng, and she didn't even have the chance to speak. Third brother, I'll let Nie Feng carry Qin Sheng. It won't be good for Qin Sheng's image if the employees outside see that she's being carried by you. After all, she's already so old. She can't be carried by a man such as yourself. 2. Qin Zixian had deliberately said that as if it was for Qin Sheng's own good. That was the only reason why Gong Machin wouldn't refuse her suggestion. As expected, the man stopped in his tracks. She was secretly happy and wanted to call Nie Feng over, but the man turned around and walked towards the elevator at the back of the corridor. 2. Let Nie Feng drive the car to the backyard. His cold voice floated behind him. 2. Qin Zixian called Nie Feng and repeated Gong Machin's words. When she got in the car, she had to sit in the front passenger seat because Gong Machin was carrying Qin Sheng and sitting in the back seat. There was no room for her. D*M that Qin Sheng, too. Qin Sheng felt so comfortable. She yawned lazily like a cat. When she slowly opened her eyes, she found that she was still on her uncle's body. However, they were no longer in an office, but a car. 2. Are you awake? We're home. Go in. The man's gentle voice spoke above her head. 2. Qin Sheng looked at the scenery outside the car window in a daze. They were indeed home. She got off from the man and opened the car door. Uncle, aren't you coming out? 2. Gong Machin's face was flushed. I'll go in after I make a call. You go first. 2. He finally sent the girl away. He didn't really have a phone call to make. The girl had been rubbing against him, and he couldn't carry her in. Could he? He could only wait for his body to return to normal before he was able to get out of the car and venture in himself. 2. Qin Sheng walked into the villa and immediately saw the look in Qin Yunting's eyes, a look that could kill her. She was probably too disappointed to see that she had returned safely. 2. Qin Sheng walked over to her. Cousin, your dog is no longer of use. It's a pity that you treat him the way you do. But he still didn't succeed. TSK. He even said that he was happy for the Duke to pick up his second-hand goods, too. What the F***CK? Did she even dare to further anger Qin Yunting? The B***TCH2. A vicious glint flashed across Qin Yunting's eyes as she glanced at the person behind Qin Sheng. 2. Qin Sheng noticed that something was wrong with Qin Yunting's eyes, so she turned around, vigilant. Before she could fully make sense of her surroundings, someone hugged her body and stopped her from moving. 2. The person even covered her mouth with a handkerchief to prevent her from making a sound. 2. Qin Yunting clenched her hand into a fist and smashed it fiercely into Qin Sheng's chest. Damn it! Haseki had been dating her for so long, but he still couldn't get over Qin Sheng. He'd gone against her wishes for this devious girl. 2. How could she bear this humiliation? She had been a noble lady for 18 years, but a wild girl had near enough beaten her. 2. Qin Sheng bent down, and the person behind her fell to the ground in front of her. 2. The woman was clearly hurt by the fall and let go of Qin Sheng. 2. Xiao Hui, I knew it was you, Qin Sheng said coldly. 2. Xiao Hui was Qin Yunting's maid. It was not the first time the two of them had teamed up and beaten Qin Sheng. 2. So what? I'm eldest Miss Qin's maid. Xiao Hui got up from the ground, grimacing in pain. Qin Yunting was going to be engaged to the Duke soon. When she became the Duchess in the future, Xiao Hui would follow her and live in a castle overseas, too. Qin Sheng's expression hardened, and she looked proud. Even the maids here seemed to have a higher status than her. When she looked up, she was stunned to see a man standing in the corridor on the second floor, holding onto the carved wooden banister. He looked like a grim monster. 2. Damn, had he been watching her get beaten up just now, too? How about I go tell the Duke what you just done? Let him see what kind of person he is going to marry. She deliberately provoked Qin Yunting and then slapped her face. 2. Originally, she had wanted to help Qin Yunting, but now she wasn't in the mood. If she didn't want to be with the Duke, Qin Yunting wouldn't be able to take advantage of her. 2. Qin Yunting laughed lightly. Not only did she not fight back, she even stretched out her hand to pull at the expensive dress on her body. Qin Sheng looked at Qin Yunting angrily. Before she could react, Qin Yunting burst into tears. 2. Xiao Hui, who was beside her, hugged her young mistress in a protective embrace and shouted, Someone come quickly. Please come quickly, too. Zheng Min was startled and walked out of the living room. What are you shouting for? You're so unruly. You can stop doing that now, too. Second madam. Eldest Miss Chin was hit by little Miss Chin. Xiaohui immediately said point two. Qin Yunting covered her face and cried even louder. Mother, Qin Sheng hit me, too. Qin Sheng's mouth was open wide enough that an egg could fit in it. She did not expect Qin Yunting to be so ruthless. Qin Yunting hit her on the chest, which hadn't been seen by the others. And where she hit Qin Yunting, everyone could see the red mark on her face point two. Cousin, aren't you afraid of consequences? She asked coldly point two. Qin Sheng, you hit me because the Duke likes me and wants to be engaged to me, didn't you? I didn't want to steal Liang at all. I'm engaged to Hasiki. Qin Yunting choked. She looked as if she had been wronged point two. Qin Sheng, you gone too far. Your cousin didn't steal anything from you. You ran away without seeing Duke Liang. I asked Yunting to entertain the Duke. What's wrong with that? Why did you hit Yunting, too? Ethan walked out of the living room and scolded Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng could clearly see that Roland's expression was grim. Apparently, she also believed Qin Yunting's words. There wasn't a single injury on her body, but in comparison, it looked as though Qin Yunting had been hurt badly. Anyone would have believed Qin Yunting point two. No matter what, I won't marry the Duke. And my cousin is infatuated with Husky, so I don't think she'll be able to abandon her old fiancé and take a new one. I think Madame is wasting her efforts to marry her son to our cousin. It would be better to leave with the Duke quickly, too. Qin Yunting, who was crying, turned pale. Qin Sheng was too devious, saying that she would not abandon her old fiancé and like someone new. If she was forced to do so, how could she refuse the marriage with the Duke? 2. Roland was very unhappy. This girl was too uneducated. It was one thing for her to hit people, but she even said that she would not marry the Duke, no matter what, too. With her son's looks, he was so handsome that even a little girl would not be able to close her legs. So what was this girl playing at, too? She really has no control. What should I do? Does she need to be taught a lesson, too? Ethan immediately said, Madam, don't be angry. My granddaughter is indeed stubborn and unruly. I'll punish her right now. She turned to look at Qin Sheng. You hit your cousin and tore her clothes. I'm sending you to your room to reflect on your actions, too. She did not dare to punish him too harshly, but she was afraid that Roland would see that they were not treating Qin Sheng well. Qin Sheng was very satisfied with this punishment. She did not want to see Duke Liang. She ran upstairs and glared at the man who had been watching the show. He saw that she was wronged and did not say a word, too. She walked into her room and closed the door behind her. The man pushed the door with his hand. No matter how much strength she used, the man easily pushed the door open, squeezed in, and locked the door behind him. Point two. Bastard, look at my bad luck. Haven't you seen enough? She could not help but curse. The evildoer leaned against the door and said, Stupid girl, you stole my photo, stole my earring, and even threatened me. Do you know what will happen to you, too? Qin Sheng rolled her eyes. How much did he hate her? She decided to give him back his belongings, but had one condition, too. If you want the things back, I'll give them to you. But let's talk about a deal. You and your mother will leave. You're not allowed to marry me or Qin Yunting. Only then will I return the photos and earrings to you. 2. The corner of Li Ang's lips twitched. But the things are mine anyway. They should be returned to me. You have no right to negotiate with me. 2. He had an urge to hit her. She couldn't threaten him, so she had offered a deal. The question was, did she have the right to negotiate with him? 2. More importantly, he was the one who had rejected her. And now he was actually being rejected by this stupid girl. She even said that no matter what, she wouldn't marry him. It was a miracle that she could still talk, too. He didn't understand. Where did she get the courage to keep acting atrociously in front of him? 2. You don't agree to my terms then? Fine, then marry Qin Yunting. I didn't know you liked to have other people's leftovers. She reached out to grab Liang. She wanted to open the door and push him away, but the man grabbed her again and pulled her into his arms. With a flip, he pressed her against the door point too. His long fingers slowly slid down her cheeks, and his body pressed against her body. But you're not leftovers, are you? Too. His voice had a devilish charm to it, and he ignored her questions. Point two. Whether I'm leftovers or not has nothing to do with you. I'm not your meal, and you're not my type either. We hate each other. Don't tell me you still want to get engaged to me, shouted Qin Sheng Point 2. Liang looked at the girl in front of him. Of course I hate you. He paused and observed the expression on Qin Sheng's face without blinking. He lowered his head slowly, and his lips almost touched the girl's ear. I want to make it so that you're unable to sleep and be at peace. I want to torture you to tears, too. Qin Sheng glared at Liang. It was clear how much he hated her. But what did he mean? Was he proposing or not, too? You too. Before she could ask, someone knocked on the door behind her. Uncle. The thought flashed through Qin Sheng's mind. Other than her uncle, no one would look in on her when she had been punished, too. She wanted to push Liang out of the way and open the door, but Liang held her down. Point 2. Liang lowered his voice and said, It's not so easy for you to leave, too. He bowed his head and kissed the girl's neck, taking a deep breath. Point 2. Qin Sheng slapped Liang's face. How dare this pervert take advantage of her, too? Liang looked up and let go of Qin Sheng, touching his cheek. Remember, we have a debt to settle, too. This time, Qin Sheng didn't need to push him. He pulled Qin Sheng away from the door and opened at. Point 2. Without any surprise, he saw Gong Machin on the other side of the door. He smiled evilly and said, Little uncle is back, too. Gong Machin felt goosebumps all over his body. Don't call me uncle. I don't have a nephew as old as you, too. Little uncle, don't be modest. You are Qin Sheng's little uncle, so you are my little uncle now. Liang looked at the girl behind him and walked out of the room leisurely, his hands in the pockets of his trousers. Point 2. Gong Machin walked into the room. Why was he in here, too? He forced his way in. I wanted to chase him away, but he didn't want to leave. Qin Sheng covered her neck with her hand. She was going to wash her neck later. Point 2. What happened to your neck? Gong Machin reached out to pull the girl's hand away and saw a red mark on her neck, too. Did he kiss you? His voice was as cold as the wind in December. Point 2. When he knocked on the door, he kissed my neck. Qin Sheng looked at the furious man and felt the air around her turn cold. Point 2. Where else did he touch you? Gong Machin's hand peeled off the girl's clothes like a bamboo shoot, and he saw the bruise on the girl's chest. Point 2. He didn't do this. Qin Yunting did. He just kissed me on the neck. He didn't touch me anywhere else, Qin Sheng said quickly. The man's eyes were so scary. She only felt that he was going to raise the roof, too. So stupid. I asked you to learn Taekwondo. Can't you even deal with Qin Yunting? She hit you. Why did you hit her back? Gong Machin grabbed the girl and went to the bathroom to take off her clothes. He took the shower from a wall and got ready to clean her neck. Point 2. Qin Sheng only wanted to laugh. She had hit back, but she was the one who was punished. Qin Yunting became the victim. Point 2. She jumped into the man's arms. Uncle, I don't want to stay at grandfather's house anymore. Let's go home, please, too. She liked their home. There was only them there. She could live like she was in heaven every day. Gong Machin let the girl hug him and wet his expensive suit. However, if she couldn't survive in Qin Zhe's home, how could she survive in the Qin family, too? Qin Sheng, this is your home. You should be here. He knew that he had said too much to Qin Sheng, and she couldn't understand. However, every step he planned for her was for her sake. Point 2. I don't want to be in this home. I just want to be in Uncle's home. Qin Sheng raised her little head and said. Point 2. Take a shower first. We'll talk later. Gong Machin turned around and walked out. Point 2. Nie Feng walked over and reported to his master. I heard that Qin Yunting and Xiao Hui hit Miss Qin first, and then Miss Qin hit Qin Yunting. Do you want to punish Xiao Hui, too? In the whole family, Nie Feng was the only one to call Qin Sheng Miss Qin. It seemed that he was the only one that could bear to say these two words. Point 2. Gong Machin paused. No need. Qin Sheng has to learn how to protect herself. Let her do it herself, too. His girl had to grow up. He couldn't protect her forever, and had to train so that she could learn how to protect herself. Point 2. Yes, sir. Nie Feng accepted the order. Point 2. Gong Machin returned to his bedroom, changed his clothes, and walked to the dining room. It was already dinner time, and Qin Zhe had also returned. Liang and Qin Zhe were chatting happily. Point 2. Godfather, I heard that the Duke came to the house to propose marriage. I wonder who the Duke wants to marry, too. When he returned home, Nie Feng found out that Liang had come to the Qin family to propose marriage. Point 2. Of course, if Liang married Qin Yunting, it would be a good thing for him and would save Qin Sheng the trouble. Point 2. Without waiting for Qin Zhe to speak, Hefan spoke. Madam still likes our Yunting very much. It's a pity that our Yunting is engaged too. If Liang was engaged to Qin Sheng, it would only be because Qin Yunting was already engaged. The engagement would have to be cancelled. Otherwise, the Duke would have no choice but to marry Qin Sheng. If the Duke chose Qin Yunting, then the matter of breaking off the engagement with the Ha family would have to be handled by the Duke. Their family was forced to break off the engagement, so it couldn't be said that Qin Yunting broke off the engagement, too. Well, Yunting is engaged, so it wouldn't suitable to change the marriage plans. That being said, which granddaughter of mine did the Duke propose to? Qin Zhe asked. Point 2. Roland looked at her son. She was also conflicted and did not know what to do. After all, she had agreed to the engagement with Qin Sheng with old man Yin. However, that girl was too much of a headache for her, but her son's first time had been with her. She did not know if Qin Yunting was capable of sleeping with her son. In the end, a grandson was what she wanted the most. 2. Liang, who do you like? 2. Who does he like? Who does he like? I don't want to marry him. Qin Sheng walked into the dining room and sat beside her uncle. Point 2. Qin Zixian snorted coldly. Qin Sheng, you interrupted when the adults were talking. It seems as though our family's upbringing has been taught to a dog for 18 years. It's time for you to learn, too. Qin Sheng's expression turned dark. Did she call her a dog, too? Aunt, you're right. Since our dog is so well-educated, why doesn't Duke Liang marry our dog instead? She looked at her aunt and Liang with curved eyes. Point 2. Qin Zixian was speechless, and Qin Yunting's face turned green. Was she calling her a dog? 2. Liang's face twitched. He hadn't even said anything and was yet again disrespected by this little vixen. Point 2. Asking him to marry a dog. So she would say he was a F***king dog too. Stupid girl. If he didn't show his strength, she wouldn't know how powerful he was. He would play with her to the end, too. He glanced at Gong Machin with a wicked look. I can't help it if Qin Sheng doesn't want to marry, but I'm not an irresponsible person. After all, Qin Sheng and I. He deliberately paused. However, Qin Yunting is gentler than Qin Sheng. She is indeed a suitable match. But I can't choose between them at this moment. I need more time to decide, too. Yes. Duke Liang, you can have time to think it through. Zheng Min said anxiously. Point 2. Well, I've decided to stay with the Qin family and keep contact with the two Miss Qins. Then, I will consider who to marry. Liang looked at the faces of the people at the table with a playful look. Point 2. Qin Sheng's expression turned dark. Damn it. Liang deliberately stopped talking, as if he wanted to coax a reaction out of her. She could see all the women at the table looking at her with disdain and hatred. If eyes could kill, she would have been pierced by thousands of arrows, too. Liang, you can stay and eat whatever you want, but be careful of what you say. Gong Machin's words came out from between his teeth. It was just enough for Liang to hear. Point 2. Liang smacked his lips. You didn't see what happened yesterday. How do you know that I'm talking nonsense? Qin Sheng, why don't you tell him what we've done? 2. His volume was just enough for Gong Machin to hear. Then, he lowered his voice and whispered in the girl's ear, If you've forgotten, I don't mind doing it again so that you can recover your memory. 2. Qin Sheng rolled her eyes at Liang. How dare he speak to her like that, too? Duke Liang, did we really do anything? If you can't explain it clearly, I'll go to the hospital to have my hymen tested. I don't know how Liang slept with me for the whole afternoon, but I'm still intact, too. Liang, you want to marry Qin Yunting? Go ahead and marry her. If you continue to pester me, I'll tell others that you're sick and suffering. I'll tell them your secrets, too. She spoke in a low voice without holding back. She didn't believe that any man with such a big ego wouldn't be afraid of others finding out that he was useless, too. The corner of Liang's lips twitched, and his gaze landed on Qin Sheng's smiling fox-like face. He really did not expect that she was still intact. Damn it, too. If she was still intact, then he would have lost all reason to threaten her, and he would lose all integrity if others found out, too. He snorted lightly. Girl, you said that you know so many of my dirty secrets. Would it be so fair to myself if I did not kill a girl to silence her, too? How dare you? Qin Sheng glared at Liang. He actually wanted to kill her? Wow, too. If I don't kill a girl, then there can only be one way. That is to marry you. And then my secret will forever be a secret. So, be honest with me, or I don't know if I will choose A or B. Liang's tone suddenly turned cold. Point two. The stupid girl still dared to shout at him. If the tiger doesn't show its power, then is he more like Hello Kitty? 2. You must chose B. Qin Sheng snorted. Point two. Liang scowled. This girl could make him want to kill her at any moment. What a B asterisk TCH. Point two. If Qin Yunting knows that you took away her chance to be a duchess, I wonder if she will eat you alive or skin you alive. 2. Except for Qin Sheng, no one could hear the Duke's words. In the eyes of outsiders, such whispers could simply be sweet whispers. Point two. Qin Yunting's hands were clenched into fists. She had been carefully flattering the Duke for the whole afternoon. As soon as this B asterisk TCH came back, Li Ang's eyes were attracted to her, and her only, it seemed. Point two. Her cold eyes landed on Qin Sheng. She looked around, and it seemed that Roland was very satisfied with the whispers between Liang and Qin Sheng. She could not let Qin Sheng be so proud and haughty. She quickly thought of a way to dethrone her, too. Qin Sheng looked up and saw Qin Yunting's eyes. Liang's words made Qin Yunting treat Qin Sheng as an enemy. Even if Qin Sheng solemnly promised that she was not interested in Liang, Qin Yunting would not believe it, too. You deliberately let Qin Yunting make trouble for me? Qin Sheng retorted. Point two. Stealing my photos, stealing my earring, threatening me, beating me, and even asking me to die. You should be happy that you're still alive. Liang's lips curved aggressively as he battled the girl with his wicked charm. I want you to live a life worse than death, too. Qin Sheng wanted to tear the smile off the Duke's face, but she was too lazy to talk nonsense with him any longer. She raised her head and looked at her grandfather. Point two. Grandfather, I'm still young, and I cannot marry, too. Not that young, just old enough to hold with one hand. Liang said. Point two. Qin Zixian spat out the drink that she had just drunk. She covered her mouth with a handkerchief in embarrassment. Her delicate image as a saintess was ruined just like that. It was so embarrassing, too. She glared at Qin Sheng angrily and got up to run to the bathroom. Qin Sheng's little face turned pale with anger. How could he dare to say anything so shameless out loud about her? He didn't seem to think it was embarrassing, but she did, too. Qin Zhe, who hadn't spoken, finally spoke. Duke Liang, please have some self-respect. Although my Qin family is not as noble as your family, we still demand respect, too. His words were as deep and heavy as a bell, so heavy that it could make people hold their breaths. Point two. Roland looked at her son distastefully. His sentence was indeed inappropriate. How could he say something like that in public, too? Liang's lips curled up. I don't know which part of me doesn't have self-respect. Or did you think I was talking about something other than Qin Sheng's waist, too? Qin Sheng's forehead was covered with countless lines. Just now, Liang had been clearly looking at her breasts, too. This time, it was Qin Zhe's turn to be embarrassed. Point two. Godfather, Qin Sheng is indeed young and not suitable for Liang. According to her age, Zixian is suitable. Gong Machin skipped this topic and helped Qin Zhe out of the predicament. He also expressed his own opinion. He would not agree to Qin Sheng marrying Liang too. Who said I'm not suitable? I just like little lowly and don't like those who are too old. Liang said. Point two. Qin Zixian, who had just returned from the bathroom, happened to hear Liang's words. She did not catch her breath and clench her fists. How dare he say that she was old? She had just graduated from university. What kind of taste did this Duke have, too? She silently chanted Qin Sheng's name. Today's humiliation off Qin Sheng was almost all she could take. And now this, too. She walked into the dining room. I've just started working. For now, I want to focus on my work. I will not consider other things for the time being, too. She could not let the Duke reject her. She couldn't take the shame, so she immediately rejected him. Point two. Qin Sheng was eating the dishes in front of her. It seemed that her aunt was so determined to snatch her uncle away that she didn't want the Duke. Point two. Gong Machin saw that the girl was only eating the dishes on the plates in front of her, so he picked up the dishes in the distance with his chopsticks and gave them to Qin Sheng. This girl had always been a carnivore. When had she ever liked to just eat vegetarian dishes? However, each time the servants placed the best dishes in front of Qin Yunting and Qin Zixian, and the vegetarian dishes in front of Qin Sheng. He was also used to picking up dishes for her and taking care of her while she ate. Qin Sheng was used to this kind of feeding, so she just ate the dishes that her uncle gave to her. Qin Yunting saw the look in Zheng Min's eyes and picked up a large piece of fish and put it into Liang's bowl. Duke, my family chef makes the best fish. It's very delicious. Please try it, too. Liang did not look at Qin Yunting. Instead, he looked at Qin Sheng beside him and put the fish into Qin Sheng's bowl. Eat mine. Don't eat Gong Machen's food. Otherwise, you won't know what you're missing, too. Qin Sheng looked at Liang in surprise. She didn't understand what he was talking about, but she understood one thing. Liang was talking bad about Gong Machen. She threw the fish back into Liang's bowl. So what if I eat my uncle's food? Don't talk bad about my uncle, too. Talk bad about your uncle? Liang looked at Gong Machen calmly. Gong Machen, I'm doing this for Qin Sheng's own good. You must understand, too. Gong Machen's face turned cold, too. Liang, Qin Sheng was raised by me. I don't need you to remind me how I should raise her. Gong Machen said everything in one sentence. Qin Sheng found that Gong Machen had asked the servant to get a new pair of chopsticks. When he picked up food for her, he would use another pair instead of his own. She gritted her teeth and bit the head off her chopsticks. She did not understand why Gong Machen would do this. Duke Liang wants to stay at our house for a while. I'll get the servant to clean up a room for him now, Hefan said with a smile. She had her own plans. It was better for her daughter, Qin Zixian, to marry Gong Machen. The Duke liked Lolas, so of course, he wanted her granddaughters to marry him. If this happened, one of them was her son-in-law, and the other would be her grandson-in-law. They were two top men, and they would both belong to her family, too. Then I'll have to bother Madame Qin, Roland said politely. No, it's our honor to entertain such an important guest like Duke Liang and yourself. Hefan welcomed Roland. She secretly instructed the servants to arrange for Liang's room to be next to Qin Yunting's room. Zheng Min's eyes swept over Liang. Liang's eyes never left Qin Sheng. Her lips were pursed. The way that girl ate made the two men beside her watch her. Why? Why could she control men like this, too? She just couldn't tolerate it, too. She looked at her own daughter. Why didn't this girl find an opportunity to capture the Duke, too? Qin Yunting pursed her lips. She had always been the arrogant one, waiting for men to chase after her. She had never chased a man before, too. Qin Yunting couldn't lose to Qin Sheng. She jumped up and walked to the kitchen. Then, she brought her maid, Xiao Hui, out with the soup. This is my family's specialty, ham and water shield soup. It's made from the best Jinhua ham and water shield vegetables. Qin Yunting said gently. First, she gave a bowl to Roland. Roland liked the lotus leaf-shaped bowl. The lotus petal-like spoon added to the flavor of the soup. The water shield vegetables in the bowl were like small lotus leaves, and the ham, cut into petals, looked to have been carved by someone with great knife skills. The soup was undoubtedly full of color, fragrance, taste, and shape. She took a sip and said, "It's so fresh, too." "This is my daughter's specialty dish," Zheng Min quickly said. "By the way, Qin Sheng, tell Madam if you have any specialty dishes." Liang said that he wants to choose between the two of you. No matter what, it has to be a fair contest, too. The corners of Qin Sheng's lips twitched. She did not know how to cook at all. Gong Machen would never let her do such a dangerous job. Moreover, the soup was not made by Qin Yunting. Qin Sheng was certain that she wasn't the one who had cut the ham, and there was no way she could have kept the temperature under control. Qin Yunting wasn't the one who had made it. Damn it. She did not know why Zheng Min was such a B***tch. She deliberately made it difficult for Sheng, because she did not know how to cook, too. Qin Sheng smiled. I know how to eat. Someone has already cooked. If I cooked, it would be a waste of labor and food. It's better if I help to eat the food. It would be a shameful waste food if I didn't, too. Zheng Min rolled her eyes. Labor? Did Qin Sheng say her daughter had wasted labor? 2. Qin Yunting had a rare good temper. She could hold her anger in. Not only did she not rush Qin Sheng, but she also served bowls of soup to everyone on the table. Point 2. She walked to Liang's side and picked up a bowl from the tray in Qiu Hui's hand and gave it to him. Duke, please have some soup, too. Qiu Hui stood behind Qin Sheng. She held the remaining bowls of soup with one hand and lowered her other hand quietly. Qin Sheng suddenly felt a sharp pain in her elbow, and her arm reflexively moved backward. However, she did not expect her arm to touch Qin Yunting, who was holding the bowl. The bowl in Qin Yunting's hand fell into the man's lap, too. In an instant, the entire dining room fell silent. Everyone looked at the Duke in horror, too. Oh my God. Son, are you all right there? Can you still use your appendage? I haven't even had a grandchild yet. Roland stood up and ran over, staring at her son. Point 2. Liang's forehead creased. Could his mother be any more straightforward? Was he a freaking seeder? A baby-making machine? 2. Qin Yunting only just reacted and said in a sobbing tone, I'm sorry, Duke. I didn't do it on purpose. Someone touched me, so I spilled the soup. Are you all right? 2. She hurriedly took a napkin to wipe Liang's body. Just as her hand was about to touch Liang's leg, her wrist was grabbed by the man and pushed away. Point 2. Don't touch me, Liang shouted angrily. His misophobia meant he could not stand being touched by anyone. Point 2. Qin Yunting did not know about Liang's misophobia. She thought Liang was angry at her. Duke, someone really touched me. 2. Her eyes deliberately looked at Qin Sheng behind her, as if she did not dare to say her name. She endured the grievance. Point 2. What happened? Tell me clearly, Liang shouted angrily. He was so furious that he almost lost his cool. Point 2. He could understand Qin Yunting's hints, following her eyes. She was obviously saying that Qin Sheng touched her. This devious girl wanted to burn his man goods, too. Yes, Qin Sheng touched me with her arm, Qin Yunting blurted. She had been desperate to say those words. The Duke's questions had pulled them out of her. Point 2. Qin Sheng. Liang's words came out from between his teeth. Point 2. Qin Sheng looked at the large wet patch between the man's legs. He already had a small appendage, and now he'd been burnt in that area. TSK. Would he be made into a eunuch? 2. I didn't burn you on purpose. How did I know that Qin Yunting would spill on you there? She was telling the truth. Point 2. I saw it with my own eyes. It was Qin Sheng who deliberately reached out to push Miss Yunting when Miss Yunting was serving soup. Qiu Hui said straightforwardly. Point 2. Qin Sheng's face twitched. I reached out because I felt a stabbing pain in my elbow. Anyone would reach out if their elbow was stabbed. It was not Qin Sheng's fault, too. Gong Machin quickly pulled the girl's arm and checked to see if she was injured. He was only relieved when he saw that she wasn't. Point 2. You said it was a stabbing pain? Show me the evidence. Is your elbow injured? Where's the wound? You're clearly the one who harmed the Duke. Qin Yunting said aggressively. Point 2. Qin Sheng's eyebrows sank. It only hurt for a moment. How is there going to be a wound? 2. Fortunately, Qiu Hui saw it. Otherwise, our Yunting wouldn't be able to explain it clearly. Qin Sheng, what did our Yunting do to make you frame her like this? Zheng Min instantly steered the conversation in another direction. Point 2. From saying Qin Sheng had deliberately burned the Duke, they were now saying Qin Sheng had deliberately framed Qin Yunting. Point 2. Qin Sheng looked at Zheng Min and Qin Yunting. The mother and daughter not going into the entertainment industry was a great loss to the entertainment industry. They were good actresses, too. I didn't want to marry Liang, so why would I frame my cousin? Whether you believe it or not, something stabbed me. She took a deep look at her grandfather and recalled what he had said last time. She had to defend herself, too. Okay, let's not waste time now. We'll investigate later. Take Liang to the hospital first. Roland said anxiously. Point 2. I'm not going to the hospital, Mother. My body is not used to being looked at. Liang pointed at Qin Sheng. Go into the other room and take a look at my injury. Liang, if you want to die, carry on as you are, Gong Machin said coldly. His voice was not loud, but no one could ignore the coldness radiating off him. If he could, there was no doubt he'd freeze people with his words. Point 2. Qin Sheng took a step back. What right do you have to ask me to treat you? I'm not a doctor, too. Liang's lips curled into a sinister smile. Of course you have to treat me, especially if you hurt me. You're not a doctor, but you must have learned simple bandages and first aid in high school, right? Come and see me, too. The last few words escaped from between his teeth. He didn't believe that he could not handle this devious girl, too. Qin Sheng cursed the man in her heart. She still couldn't get over that he'd got her drunk yesterday, too. Qin Sheng did not wait for her uncle to speak, the corners of her lips curling up. First aid? I've learned it. We've just learned first aid for animals. What kind of animal are you? It's perfect for you, too. Devious girl, what the hell did you say? Liang had never been so angry in his life. This girl just kept getting worse, too. Calling him a beast? He was so angry that his teeth hurt. Point two. Since what she has learned doesn't suit you, please see a doctor. Gong Machin's big hand pressed on Qin Sheng's shoulder, not allowing her to say anything more. Point two. It doesn't matter which doctor. Just hurry up and get one. Roland was so anxious that she was about to cry. Why was her son so focused on arguing and didn't want to treat his injury? 2. Niefeng, go and get a doctor. Tell the doctor that Duke Liang is a germaphobe. Ask him to disinfect himself and bring rubber gloves over. Gong Machin ordered Niefeng. Point two. Niefeng accepted the order. Hefen couldn't stand it anymore. After making such a fuss, Gong Machin actually didn't punish Qin Sheng. 2. Master, regardless of the Duke's injuries, our family must give him an explanation. We can't let Duke Liang get hurt innocently. It would be too disrespectful of our family. Hefen advised Qin Zhe. Point two. Qin Zhe looked up at Qin Sheng. Do you have anything to say? 2. The corner of Qin Sheng's lips twitched. It looked like they were going to convict her. 2. I was stabbed. Someone deliberately stabbed me so that I would reach out and touch my cousin, she said loudly. Point two. Then who was behind Qin Sheng just now? Qin Zhe asked. Point two. Qiu Hui knelt on the ground with a thud and said pitifully, Master, I didn't harm Qin Sheng. If you don't believe me, search me. I don't have anything that can stab people. 2. Gong Machin's eyes turned cold. Did you do it to Qin Sheng, too? Qiu Hui didn't know what to say for a moment. All eyes in the room were on her. Point two. I didn't stab Qin Sheng. If you don't believe me, you could get someone to search me, too. Qiu Hui lowered her head guiltily. She knew that she wouldn't be discovered, but Gong Machin's sharp eyes still made her heart pound. Point two. How can you say that my maid framed Qin Sheng? Qiu Hui has been in our house for so many years. What has she done wrong? Qin Sheng, don't be a bad person. Don't frame Qiu Hui. Qin Yunting quickly spoke up for her maid. Point two. Qiu Hui has been in our house for many years, but nothing happened. She's always been very honest and dutiful. Hefen was a witness for Qiu Hui. 2.2. Liang narrowed his eyes on Qiu Hui, who was kneeling on the ground. Search her, too. There's no need for anyone else to do it. I'll search personally. Roland stopped the maid who was about to walk over to Liang, too. Qiu Hui spread her arms so that it would be easier for Roland to search her. Surely, she wouldn't find anything on her, too. Roland searched for a while, but she could not find anything that could sting or stab. If something had been on Qiu Hui's body, it would probably sting her if she continued to search. Point two. She shook her head at her son and turned to look at Qin Sheng. She truly regretted agreeing to Old Man Yun's marriage proposal to this young vixen. 2. An uncontrollable anger burst from Roland's eyes. Qin Sheng, what do you have to say? I've heard that you're naughty, but I didn't expect you to be so scheming. You framed your cousin for pouring hot soup on the Duke, and when you couldn't do that, you framed the maid. Even if my son likes your cousin, you don't have to be so jealous. How could there be a girl in this world with such a bad heart, too? Mom, I thought she couldn't have done it, but now I'm having second thoughts. What right does this vile girl have to be my fiancée? She's like Toad that wants to eat swan meat. Liang roared angrily. Point two. Just a second ago, he was thinking that Qin Sheng was wronged, but his mother had personally searched Qiu Hui, so he naturally believed her. Point two. If it wasn't Qiu Hui, then it had to be Qin Sheng. This girl was like an archenemy to him, and it made him hate her so much, too. Qin Sheng smiled coldly. Even if I'm a toad, I definitely wouldn't look for another toad like you, too. F***CK. If Qin Sheng wanted a swan, she had to look no further than her uncle, too. Liang's face twitched. The devious girl dared to call him a toad. He took a step forward and wanted to pull Qin Sheng over, but was blocked by Gong Machin. Point 2. Since you think of Qin Sheng in this way, then don't have any more ideas about her. Gong Machin said coldly. Point 2. Liang laughed and said in a low voice, Gong Machin, do you think I'm stupid enough to let her go? 2. At that moment, he felt his mother's suggestion wasn't so bad. Marry Qin Sheng, and he could slowly torture her for the rest of her life. 2. President, the doctor is here, Nie Feng reported. Point 2. Son, hurry up and get your injury treated by the doctor. Roland pushed her son lightly. Dishing out Qin Sheng's punishment was not as important as getting his injury looked at. It was not too late to punish her after he'd had treatment, too. Mom, don't push me. I can walk on my own. Liang walked onto the corridor on the second floor. He looked down and saw Qin Sheng rolling her eyes at him. Point 2. His anger boiled inside him. Point 2. Hello, Duke. Please lie down. The doctor stood in the bedroom and bowed respectfully to Liang, too. Liang was pushed onto the bed by his mother. He could not stand seeing his mother staring at him like that. Point 2. Mother, please close the door from the outside, he said, waving her away. Point 2. Roland nodded and promised to close the door. After a few seconds, she finally understood what he was hinting at. Brat, did you just dismiss me? I gave birth to you, too. Liang was truly irritated. Are you going to let me see the doctor or not? 2. I'll go and interrogate Qin Sheng then. I can't let her off. Though she was annoyed at her son's behavior, Roland did not dare to disobey him. Point 2. Qin Sheng, watch me teach you a lesson, she thought, heading out of the room. Qin Sheng, who was in the dining room, looked at the group of people sitting across from her. I didn't do it on purpose. She had nothing else to say. Now that she didn't have Chiu Hui's evidence, she believed that among all the people, only Gong Machin believed her words. Point 2. Just because you say it wasn't on purpose, are we supposed to believe it wasn't on purpose? The person you burned was the Duke. We, the Qin family, always take responsibility, Qin Zixian said craftily. Point 2. Qin Sheng's face turned cold. Her B*TCH of an aunt did not betray her title. She said this because she did not believe Qin Sheng, and also because she didn't think Qin Sheng was worthy of being a Qin family member. Point 2. Godfather, I will investigate this matter. I believe in Qin Sheng. Since her younger years, she has never had any desires. She does not want to marry the Duke, so there is no need for her to play such tricks. Gong Machin said. Point 2. Qin Yunting's face paled. Was he saying that Qin Sheng didn't want to marry the Duke? Sticking up for Qin Sheng to make Qin Yunting look bad? 2. Uncle, you have underestimated Qin Sheng. Just before, she even ran to the school to see Hasiki for devious reasons. Qin Sheng, do you dare to say that you did not see Hasiki? She immediately exposed the truth, because the more dirty Qin Sheng was made out to be, the better. Point 2. I saw Hasiki before, yes, but why shouldn't I see him? Cousin, why don't you call him over and let him explain it to you face to face? Qin Sheng immediately said. Point 2. Qin Yunting's lips moved, but she did not dare to continue. She could not let Hasiki know about her, and the Duke too. Roland, who had returned to the dining room, gasped. Why was this girl so complicated? So devious, too. She secretly detested Old Man Yun and covered her chest with a hand. Our family can't have such a girl. If we're going to get engaged, we'll get engaged to the eldest daughter of the Qin family, Miss Qin Yunting, too. Qin Yunting and Zheng Min were pleasantly surprised. They didn't expect the marriage to be settled so soon. Thank you for your courtesy, madam. When do you think we'll get engaged? Zheng Min asked hurriedly. She couldn't wait for her daughter to get engaged now. Point 2. You must give the Ha family an explanation before this goes ahead. Qin Zhe's meaningful words instantly extinguished the small flame in Zheng Min's heart. Point 2. That's easy. I'll ask my son to tell the Ha family tomorrow, Roland said casually. Then she changed the topic. But how will the Qin family give my son an explanation on who caused his injury, too? Ethan looked at Qin Zhe. Old man, it's Qin Sheng's fault. She should take the blame, too. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'll investigate this matter. Qin Sheng, go upstairs and rest, Gong Machin said immediately. He did not look at anyone and wanted Qin Sheng to go. Point 2. Qin Sheng felt Gong Machin's hand push her lightly. She looked up and saw the man's eyes signaling for her to be obedient, and so she silently walked away. Point 2. Hefan's lips twitched. She didn't expect Gong Machin to not even look at Qin Zhe, too. Machin, I know you pamper Qin Sheng. This girl has been spoiled by you. If you don't discipline her properly, can't the Qin family discipline her, too? Hefan's harsh voice made Qin Sheng, who was about to leave, stop in her tracks. Grandma, are you saying that my uncle didn't raise me well and the Qin family wants to raise me personally? I've lived with him for 18 years. Where are the Qin family's people then? Why are you only thinking of educating me now? 2. You dare to curse the Qin family? You are really your mother's daughter. Were you born to harm our Qin family? Hefan was so angry that the wrinkles on her face deepened. Point 2. Was Hefan saying her mother wanted to harm the Qin family? Qin Sheng was stunned. Why would her mother harm the Qin family, too? Shut up. Qin Zhe's thick voice shouted. Qin Sheng, you say that you didn't do it on purpose, right, too? She didn't do it. I will investigate. Gong Machin said. Point 2. Qin Zhe raised his hand. I want to hear Qin Sheng say it, too. I didn't do it on purpose, and I will find the evidence myself to prove my innocence. Qin Sheng said. Point 2. Qin Zhe nodded. Well, you aren't allowed to leave the dining until you find the evidence, too. Qin Zhe stood up and walked out of the dining, and the others followed him out. Point 2. When Qin Yunting walked past Qin Sheng, she gave Qin Sheng a contemptuous look. This B***TCH would never dare to steal the position of Duchess from her. She could easily finish her off with just a flick of her finger, too. Qin Sheng glared back at Qin Yunting. She strongly believed that she would be able to find evidence of her innocence. Point 2. Gong Machin didn't leave. Are you tired? Go back to your room and rest. I'll take care of it, too. His hand caressed the girl's head lovingly. No, uncle. I want to find my own evidence, Qin Sheng said. She knew that Gong Machin doted on her and would take care of everything if she allowed him to. However, Qin Yunting had really provoked her today. She'd asked Hasiki to get the boys to punish her and even framed her for pouring soup all over Duke Liang. She wanted to find the evidence that Qin Yunting had harmed her personally. Point 2. She squatted down and carefully looked at the marble floor, searching inch by inch. At that moment, only Qin Sheng and Gong Machin were left in the huge dining room. Niefeng was just about to walk in to help when he saw Gong Machin raise his hand, and he respectfully retreated from the room. Point 2. Gong Machin lowered his head and looked at the girl who was searching desperately. The corners of his lips curled into a gratified smile. His girl had finally grown up and had begun to learn how to fight back and protect herself. Point 2. He squatted down and placed a hand on the girl's elbow. It's very difficult to spot something in this way. The marble floor is dark, so it's not easy to see, too. He could tell what the girl was looking for, but did not say it out loud. Point 2. Qin Sheng raised her head and blinked her big eyes. The dining room was decorated with Afghan black/gold flowers. The marble was of the J grade. It was covered with patterns of golden threads. Under the light, it shone with its expensive opulence. It was indeed difficult to find anything in this way. Point 2. Niefeng, find me a magnet, Qin Sheng ordered. Point 2. Gong Machin smiled slightly. The little girl was smart. She understood quickly. Point 2. Niefeng speedily brought a magnet to her. Qin Sheng tied the large magnet to a rope and placed it on the ground, saving her the trouble of having to squat. Point 2. Liang, who was in the guest room, endured the urge to tear Qin Sheng apart and looked at his penis. He did not expect it to be so red. The soup had been so hot that his penis was now red and swollen, and some of the skin had even peeled off. Point 2. He was not afraid of pain, but being stared at, examined, and touched by a man made him hate the girl so much that he wanted to kill her. Point 2. The doctor was clearly frightened of this cold man, worried that he might kill him at any time. Point 2. He was here to save a life, not to die. Geez, too. Once the examination was complete, the doctor rushed downstairs to report the situation, scared he would be punished if he moved any slower. Point 2. Liang changed into a new set of clothes and went downstairs to see how the devious girl was being punished. He would also punish her severely so that he could vent his anger. 2. He walked into the living room and heard his mother asking the doctor about his injury. How's the burn? It won't affect my son's normal function, will it? Roland was eager to know the answer to this point, too. The burn isn't very good. There's scalding and peeling in the area, I'm afraid. The doctor said, half hesitantly, point two. Roland's heart clenched. My son's baby gun won't be ruined just like that, will it? That depends on the recovery of the injury. If the injury heals successfully, he will be able to move normally and will be fine. If it doesn't, the doctor felt a chill on his back, as if he had been targeted by a spectral visitor. Point two. Sir, do you take me as a fool? Get lost, too. Liang was surrounded by a dark cloud. Could his mother be any more foolish? How could she ask such questions in front of all these people? 2. The doctor was so scared that he ran away as quick as a flash. He only wished he had 4 legs, so he could move faster, too. Roland could not help but feel worried. A thought flashed through her mind. She had to get her son to try out his functions no matter what, too. Where's Qin Sheng? Come out now. Liang asked coldly. He did not know what his mother was thinking, acting the way she was. Point two. Sir, Qin Sheng was punished in the dining room. Hefen said quickly. Point two. Kneeling? Was she left to kneel? Liang asked. Point two. No. She's looking for evidence that she did not harm you. Hefen deliberately emphasized her tone. She hoped that Liang would be angry and kick the girl out of the house. Point two. It has been half an hour, and she still hasn't found any evidence. What can she actually find? Don't waste my time and bring her here to pay for my debt. Liang shouted his words viciously. Point two. Qin Sheng followed Gong Machin to the living room door and heard Liang's words. Point two. The perverted duke still wanted her to pay for her debt? Could his burnt lipstick still be used? 2. Gong Machin strode in and sat on the sofa with a cold expression on his face. Liang, you are thinking about this too much. 2. Liang raised his eyebrows and his gaze landed on Qin Sheng. I don't think I am. She must be punished severely. 2. Qin Sheng held the magnet and rolled her eyes. Gong Machin was trying to defend her. At least someone in this house was. To be honest, that was enough for her. It was a beautiful thing. Point two. I'm not alone, though I sometimes feel I am in this place, she thought, clenching the magnet tighter. Point two. She was waiting for the right moment to retort, the right moment to brandish her findings. The smugness and sneers would soon be wiped off all their faces, too. Qin Yunting glanced at the magnet, and her face suddenly turned pale. Fortunately, she was sitting on the sofa by the door. She quietly got up and walked out of the living room to go straight to Chiu Hui's room. Point two. Qin Sheng threw the magnet to Liang. And you said I wouldn't find any evidence. Here's your evidence, too. Liang took the magnet and looked at it. There was a needle stuck to the black magnet. He frowned. Are you saying that someone stabbed you with this needle? 2. Yes. Chiu Hui was standing behind me at that time. Qin Sheng said. Point two. Zheng Min's lips trembled. Don't frame a good person. You stuck a needle and said that Chiu Hui stabbed you. Who knows if this needle is yours? 2. Qin Sheng smiled helplessly. Second aunt, if you really want to go down that route, then let's go. It's impossible for me to have a needle like this. The whole family knows that I don't know how to use a needle and thread. Not to mention that I don't have them in my room. Even my uncle's room doesn't have needles. Point two. Moreover, how would I know that my cousin would bring soup to the Duke? Could I have foreseen it and prepared that needle in advance, just to pour hot soup all over Liang's body? I don't think so, too. Roland understood. Qin Sheng has a point. Bring Chiu Hui to me. I want to interrogate her personally, too. Hefen glanced at Sister Yu, who was standing beside her. Go and bring Chiu Hui here, too. Yes, I'll go now. Sister Yu left the living room. Point two. Sister Yu headed in the direction of the maid's room. Point two. In the maid's room, Qin Yunting twisted Chiu Hui's arm. Why are you so useless? You threw that needle on the ground, too. Chiu Hui cried. Miss, I threw the needle away because I was afraid that someone would find it on my person. How would I know that Qin Sheng would find it, too? Idiot. Why wouldn't you throw it in a pot or something? You didn't believe Qin Sheng would think of looking for it? You should have thrown the needle into a pot. Qin Yunting shouted angrily. Point two. She had secretly told Chiu Hui that when she was carrying the soup for Liang, she was to use the needle to stab Qin Sheng, as it wouldn't move their arms if they were stabbed. She'd been sure that Qin Sheng would touch her and spill the steaming soup on the Duke Point too. Sure enough, everything went according to her plan. Everyone believed that Qin Sheng deliberately pushed her to splash Liang. The Ducal had been scalded. Roland abandoned Qin Sheng and wanted Liang to marry her. It had been a foolproof plan. Until now, too. Qin Sheng had found the D*Mn needle. Not only could she prove her innocence, but she could also find out that Qiu Hui was ordered by her to carry out the deed. How could she not be angry with Qiu Hui? 2. Qiu Hui cried out in pain. Qin Yunting tightened her grip on the maid. You should have thrown it in a flower pot. Didn't you realize Qin Sheng would know to look for it, too? No matter where Qiu Hui threw it, as long as Qin Sheng wanted to find it, she would be able to find it. No matter how big the dining room was, it had a limited area. If she didn't throw it, Qin Sheng wouldn't have been able to find it. However, if she hadn't thrown it, when Roland searched her body, she would have found it even faster. 2. She didn't feel that there was a problem with her handling of it. She could only say that there was a problem with her Mrs. Overall Plan Point 2. Qin Yunting was so angry that she kicked Qiu Hui's leg. How dare you? The problem isn't that you threw it, it's that you threw it in the wrong place. With how nervous Roland was about Liang, Qin Sheng would have been severely punished by now, too. Qiu Hui choked with sobs and didn't dare to retort. She was afraid that Qin Yunting would beat her even harder. Point 2. Sister Yu pushed the door open and walked in. Miss Yunting, Mrs. Roland wants to bring Qiu Hui for interrogation, too. Qin Yunting panicked. Then what should we do? We can't let this idiot go to Roland. What if she says something wrong, too? Mrs. Roland wants to interrogate Qiu Hui. If we don't let Qiu Hui go, wouldn't Mrs. Roland think that we're afraid to see her? Miss, you go out first. Don't worry, I'm here for you too. Qin Yunting trusted Sister Yu very much. This old woman had been a maid for He Fun for 30 years and had never made any mistakes. She turned around and walked out of the room, heading back to the living room to wait for the results. Point 2. Not long after, Sister Yu brought Qiu Hui into the living room and said respectfully, Mrs. Roland, Qiu Hui is here, too. Without waiting for Roland to speak, Qiu Hui knelt down. I stabbed Miss Qin Sheng with a needle. Please punish me, Mrs. Roland, too. Qin Yunting looked at Qiu Hui in astonishment. She did not expect her to do this. Was she going to betray her, too? Roland did not expect Qiu Hui to answer so readily. Then let me ask you, why did you stab Qin Sheng, too? Qiu Hui's tears rolled down her cheeks. I didn't mean to stab Qin Sheng. Yes, too. Qin Yunting's face turned pale again. She clenched her fists nervously. She was about to rush up and strangle Qiu Hui to death. Point 2. Explain yourself. What? Qin Zhe, who had been silent, asked. Point 2. It was because I couldn't stand that Qin Sheng bullied Miss Yunting, so I wanted to stab her to avenge my Mississippi. But I didn't expect that Miss Qin Sheng would reach out and touch Miss Yunting, and Miss Yunting would spill the soup on Duke Liang too. I beg Madame Roland not to blame Miss Yunting. Miss Yunting is a good person. It's all my fault. I'm willing to bear all the punishment. Qiu Hui said sorrowfully. Point 2. She bullied Qin Yunting. Seriously? When did she bully Qin Yunting? Qin Sheng glared at Qiu Hui. Point 2. Qiu Hui, tell me clearly. When did I bully my cousin, too? Qiu Hui's eyes flashed with a sinister glow, too. Qiu Hui took a deep breath, as if she was ready to die heroically. Even if you are a lady, and I can't afford to offend you, I have to tell the truth. It was you who bullied Miss Yunting. You ran to see young Master Hasiki, and when you came back, Miss Yunting asked you a question, and you hit her, too. You seduced your cousin's fiancée and hit her. If you didn't bully Miss Yunting, then why has she still got a red mark on her face? I just couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to take revenge on you. How could the Qin family have such a shameless miss like you? 2. As expected, she needed to take a deep breath. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to finish her sentence, too. The corner of Qin Sheng's lips twitched. When I hit my cousin, you guys said that I was jealous that Liang liked my cousin. Are you serious about that? I've seduced Hasiki and come back to hit my cousin? Bah, I wonder what other excuses you can use against me next time. 2. Qin Sheng looked around the room, glancing at all the women. Indeed, life was like a play. It was all determined on acting skills. You had good acting skills, you got far. You had poor acting skills. You failed. Why couldn't they all just die, too? Chiyohui choked and almost couldn't speak. When her words came out, her voice was trembling. You seduced young Master Hasiki and were jealous that Duke Liang liked Miss Yunting. That's why you hit Miss Yunting. I'm telling the truth, too. If Qin Sheng didn't laugh, she would have cried. How far from the truth all that was. If only they knew that she was almost raped by Hasiki, and she detested the Duke with all her heart. Point two. Then, do I want Hasiki or Liang? Do you think I have as much free time as my cousin that I can go for 2 men? She said coldly. Point two. Chiyohui really didn't know what to say. Point two. Qin Zhe patted the armrest of the sofa. You crafty servant, framing the master. How can there be such a servant in this house? 2. Our house is fine, but all the gossip was spread by this servant. It almost caused a misunderstanding between the two Miss Qins. Sister, you settle her wages. Ethan understood the old man's expression instantly. Without waiting for the old man to speak, she settled the matter. Otherwise, when the old man spoke, she did not know what kind of heavy punishment there would be. Point two. Chiyohui was stunned. She did not expect to be fired. In a flash, she realized what that meant for her future. She knelt down and crawled to Qin Yunting's feet. Miss, I don't want to leave. Please let me stay. I'm doing this for Miss, too. However, before she could finish her words, Sister Yu covered Chiyohui's mouth with a handkerchief from behind. She asked 2 maids for help and dragged Chiyohui out without uttering a word. Point two. All right. The misunderstanding has finally been settled. I didn't expect it to be caused by a maid. I wonder if Madam is satisfied with our punishment? If you are, feel free to let us know. However, if you're not, you can punish her too, Zhengmin said to Roland in a gracious manner. Point two. I say cut off her tongue. That way, she won't spread rumors everywhere. Liang said evilly. Point two. Zhengmin was shocked. See, cut out her tongue, too. Her face twitched. If Chiyohui's tongue was really cut out, the girl could go crazy and might tell the authorities what they had done. Then they would be in big trouble, too. Why can't I cut it out? She burned me. I consider that letting her off easy. Liang said. Point two. Roland looked at his son. That's true. She just hurt my lord, so it's kind of him to spare her life. She doesn't need a tongue. We are still guests here, so you can't disappoint us. If you deal with it this way, we will have no objections, too. Before Roland could finish speaking, the sound of a woman screaming echoed from outside the living room. The woman was crying so loudly. Point two. Go and see what's going on. Ethan ordered the maid beside her. Point two. I asked Nie Feng to break one of her legs. Gong Machin said casually. Point two. Suddenly, the room became quiet. Even the sound of breathing was abrupt and loud. The words cold man pierced everyone's thoughts. Point two. Qin Yunting's face was tense. She did not dare to look at Gong Machin. We only pricked Qin Sheng once, and her leg was broken. What would happen to her if they knew she was the one who had set the whole thing up? 2. Qin Yunting didn't dare to think about it. They were both Gong Machin's nieces, but Gong Machin only cared about Qin Sheng, not her. Point two. Liang looked at Gong Machin, the corners of his lips curling up into a sinister smile. Gong Machin actually breaking a woman's leg for him. Wow, this was an interesting development. Point two. Break one leg or two, he said coldly. He'd take advantage of the situation, too. One leg. Nie Feng, who had just walked in, replied. Point two. Break her other leg for me, too. Liang ordered. Point two. Nie Feng looked at his master, not knowing how to react. After all, Liang was not his master. Point two. Gong Machin raised his hand. Since the Duke wants another leg, I'll give it to him, too. Nie Feng accepted the order. Yes, master, too. Soon, another piercing scream ruptured the living room. Point two. Zhengmin couldn't take it in anymore. She was afraid that Xiao might say something that would implicate her daughter. Point two. Mother, I'll go take a look, she said to her mother-in-law, and got up to leave the room. Point two. Sit down. You're too soft-hearted. That's why you were taken advantage of by the servants. Tomorrow, I'll personally choose a new maid for Yuntung. I can't let Yunting be taken advantage of anymore, Hefan said, stopping Zhengmin from leaving the room. Point two. Qin Sheng rolled her eyes. Xiao Hui did everything for Qin Yunting, and she'd been thrown away like dirt. However, without Qin Yunting's encouragement, would Xiao Hui have really dared to do what she'd done? She suspected Qin Yunting had more to do with this point too. After hearing what Hefan said, it seemed that Qin Yunting was the victim and no one else, too. Since her legs are now broken, let's send her to the hospital. It wouldn't be good if she was to die of shock, Qin Zhe said in a deep voice. Point two. Yes, Niefeng will be sent to the hospital with her. Gong Machin replied. Point two. Qin Zhe nodded. I'm always at ease when you do things, Machin. He yawned. It's getting late now, and Duke Liang is still injured. You should retire to your room to rest, Duke. 2. Yes, I'll go to my room to recuperate. I'll take my leave then. Liang stood up and walked out of the living room. Point 2. Roland stood up and took her leave next. Zheng Min tried to persuade her to stay at their mansion, but she didn't succeed. Roland went back to her own villa, but before she left, she had a few words with Zheng Min too. Qin Sheng stood and stretched, then followed her uncle back to his bedroom. Point 2. Before they reached Gong Machin's room, Gong Machin pushed open the door of Qin Sheng's bedroom and pushed the girl in. He then closed the door. Though the girl hadn't spoken, he could tell from her small eyes that she wanted to stay in his room again. Point 2. However, just as he went back to his room to take a shower and lie down, he heard Qin Sheng knocking on the door. Uncle, my arm hurts. I don't know if there was something wrong with that needle Xiao Hui stabbed me with. 2. I checked you over just now. There was no wound on your arm. Gong Machin was determined not to be fooled. Point 2. Uncle, I'm scared. I might be attacked by a ghost. Xiao Hui's spirit might get me. Qin Sheng shouted again. Point 2. Xiao Hui isn't dead. She hasn't become a ghost. Gong Machin shook his head helplessly. Point 2. Suddenly, there was no girl's voice outside his room. Instead, Liang's voice could be heard faintly in the corridor. Gong Machin abruptly got up and opened the door. Point 2. Qin Sheng, come here, too. Liang grabbed Qin Sheng's arm and pulled her to him. You can't run. Have you forgotten what I just said, too? Qin Sheng turned to Gong Machin. Uncle, wait for a moment, too. She silently went into Liang's room, too. Gong Machin watched in astonishment as the girl entered Liang's room. One of his nerves snapped. His girl had never refused to enter his room, too. Liang smiled wickedly. CEO Gong, looks like you'll have to wait for the next round, too. The corner of Gong Machin's lips twitched, and he strode over. Qin Sheng, come out, too. Bang. The door closed. Point 2. Gong Machin raised his foot and wanted to kick the door open, but the girl's voice came out from inside. Point 2. Uncle, I have something to do. Go back, or I'll never speak to you again, too. Gong Machin was dumbfounded. She actually threatened him by ignoring him? This was the most serious thing she had ever said to him since she could speak. What was going on, too? He could not wait for her to stop being so dependent on him. However, when he actually thought about it, he was afraid. Is that what he truly wanted, too? Gong Machin did not leave. He stayed at the door and listened to the movements in the room. If Liang dared to touch Qin Sheng, he would take Liang's life, too. In the room, Liang heard that there was no movement outside and snorted coldly. Gong Machin is really afraid that you will ignore him? 2. My uncle loves me the most. Tell me, will you get lost if I give you the photo? Qin Sheng asked. Point 2. Liang's eyebrows sank. The girl was like a ruffian, which made him a little speechless. He didn't understand how there was such a big difference between the two Miss Qins of the Qin family. Point 2. Can't you be as gentle as your cousin? You talk like fire. Aren't women made of water, too? I'm made of water, but mix some soda and Coca-Cola in there, too. You can hold me in your hand, but don't you dare shake me. Qin Sheng said. Point 2. If it was shaken, it was guaranteed to explode or erupt. She was not pure water, nor was she a white lotus. If she wanted to be like Qin Yunting, she would not be able to be as strong as she was, too. The corner of Liang's lips twitched. Coca-Cola. He was full of anger. He might explode at the slightest touch, too. 2. Where's the photo and earring? He asked. Point 2. Didn't you say you only wanted the photo? Why are you asking for the earring again? Qin Sheng asked. Point 2. Nonsense. Shouldn't you return what you stole from me? Are you going to give it back? If not, I'll tell your grandfather that I've chosen you. Liang threatened. Point 2. Qin Sheng glared at the man. Only the photo. I'll send you the earring after you leave, too. My earring is worth 10 million. Are you going to send it to me? Liang stepped forward and forced the woman to look at him. Point two. 10 million. Qin Sheng was shocked. So the earring in her possession was worth 10 million? Wow, too. Suddenly, she felt like she had won the lottery. No wonder he cared so much, too. Yes, you must give it to me. Or are you going to compensate me for losing it? Liang glared at Qin Sheng. Point two. Wow, it's so expensive. It wouldn't be good to lose it. How about this? You leave. And then I'll personally send the earring to your house. Is that all right? Qin Sheng set out the conditions, clearly. Point two. If he didn't leave, she wouldn't return the earring to him. It was as simple as that. Point two. Liang frowned. He wanted to leave. Without the earring and photo, how could he get his mother to break off the engagement for him? 2. Stupid girl. Do you believe I'll have sex with you right now? Hand it over, too. All his patience had been exhausted. Qin Sheng suddenly raised her leg and knocked the man with her knee. Point two. Liang dodged to the side and pressed the girl's shoulder against the door. She was really ruthless. Qin Sheng realized that the man had dodged her leg. It was too late for her to get up and run, too. Looks like you don't know how powerful the Duke is. Now let me teach you a lesson. His tone carried his anger. Point two. Qin Sheng pushed Liang with her arm. If you don't get lost, I'll call my uncle in to beat you up, too. Liang looked at the girl's red lips. He lowered his head to kiss the girl passionately. Point two. Qin Sheng turned her head to dodge. The man's lips fell on her cheek, and she instantly screamed. However, the man's hand quickly blocked her mouth. Point two. Suddenly, Liang bounced off the girl's body, becoming tense as a pain radiated through him. Point two. Qin Sheng took the opportunity to push the man away. She raised her hand to open the door, ready to leave, but stopped and looked curiously at Liang's deformed facial features. Point two. What's wrong with you? Are you possessed? 2. Liang glared at the girl. You're the one who's possessed. Get lost, too. TSK. You actually wanted to leave? Well, I'm not leaving then. I'm not. Qin Sheng deliberately angered Liang. Though she'd been desperate to leave, now she knew he wanted her to. She wasn't going to give in to him. Moreover, she was really curious. What was actually wrong with this man? 2. Liang grabbed the girl's neck. Hearing Qin Sheng's shriek, Gong Machin kicked open the door. Point two. Let go of Qin Sheng. Gong Machin shouted angrily. Point two. Liang pushed the girl towards Gong Machin and pushed the two of them out. He closed the door and leaned against it, panting. Point two. Qin Sheng, you stupid girl, just you wait. Liang thought to himself. Point two. Qin Sheng looked at the closed door in confusion. She turned to look at her uncle. What's wrong with him? He seems to be in a lot of pain. 2. Gong Machin pulled Qin Sheng back to his room. Qin Sheng was in a bit of pain after entering the room. Gong Machin's face turned dark. He had guessed the reason. Point two. What did you say to him just now? He asked. Point two. Liang said he wanted to marry me. Qin Sheng's eyes glanced down. She deliberately lied, too. She didn't know what kind of state she was in, but she wanted to anger her uncle to see how nervous he was about her. Point two. Gong Machin grabbed the girl's arm and pulled her into his arms. Don't agree to him. You can't marry Liang, too. He ordered her and nervously stared into her eyes. Point two. Qin Sheng looked at the man's reaction in surprise. She thought he would have been angry, but she didn't expect him to be so nervous. Should she add more material? Would he fall in her palm?